Everyone, it is Tuesday, May 6th, 2025, and you've arrived at the monthly voting meeting of the Athens-Clarke County Mayor and Commission. Hope all are well. We'll go ahead and begin with a roll call.
Davenport. Link. Here. Taylor. Here. Wright.
Present.
Fisher. Here. Johnson. Culpepper.
Here.
Myers.
Here.
Thornton.
Here.
Hamby.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. If we've not concluded business by 8:15, we'll at that point take a 15-minute break. And before we get into any formal business, I'll go ahead and state the civility pledge that we've adopted from the Georgia Municipal Association. And that indicates that the way we govern ourselves is often as important as the positions we take, that our collective decisions will be better when differing views have had the opportunity to be fully vetted and considered, that all people have the right to be treated with respect, courtesy, and openness. We value all input, and we commit to conduct ourselves at all times with civility and courtesy to each other. Now, the first formal activity tonight is approval of the minutes of the meetings of Tuesday, April 1st, Tuesday, April 8th, Tuesday, April 15th, Thursday, May 1st, and non-voting meetings of Tuesday, April 8th, and Tuesday, April 15th. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
All right. I have a motion from Commissioner Thornton and a second from Commissioner Link. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Madam Clerk, are there any written communications this evening? Thank you, I appreciate it. All right, I want to describe public input tonight. There are going to be several opportunities for public input. There will be an opportunity for public input on the consent agenda. There will be separate opportunities for public input on each planning and zoning item, at which there are a few predetermined opportunities for 10-minute input on those items. There will be a next opportunity on old and new business, and then at the conclusion of the meeting, there will be an opportunity for public input on any item that was not on tonight's agenda. Except for those 10-minute segments, these are 3-minute opportunities for public input. You see a light in front of the clerk, and that light will turn green when you begin speaking, yellow when you have 30 seconds remaining, and red when your 3 minutes is concluded, and I'll thank you for your time with us tonight. Now is the time for any public input opportunity on the consent agenda. And consent agenda items are 1 through 12. Would any member of the public like to speak to any of those items, 1 through 12? And just let us know your name and the item to which you're speaking and your place of residence.
All right, my name is Dylan Woolsey. My place of residence is 505 River Bend Parkway. And I'm speaking on items 9, 10, and 11. I hope you approve all these items. We are desperately in need of affordable housing funding, as everywhere across Athens, there are many pockets in every district that are severely rent burdened, and so I hope that you approve these funds to be used to help alleviate this rent burden through the affordable housing measures that are listed on these items. Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to any item on the consent agenda? Again, those are items 1 through 12. All right, consent agenda items are approved in a single vote, and we have some ordinances that the attorney needs to read prior to that.
Yes, Mayor, there's ordinances with items 1, 2, 3, and 11. Item 1, an ordinance to amend the Transportation Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax 2018 program budget so as to provide additional funding from Georgia Power for project number 05 Oconee Rivers Greenway project, subproject number 7 Oconee Street Underpass, and for other purposes. Item number 2, an ordinance to amend the FY 2025 operating capital budget for Athens-Clarke County, Georgia, so as to provide grant funding if awarded from the Federal Highway Administration for a Transportation Alternatives Program grant for the North Oconee River Greenway Trail from North Avenue to First Street and for other purposes. Item number 3, an ordinance to amend the FY 2025 operating capital budget for Athens-Clarke County, Georgia, so as to provide grant funding if awarded from the Georgia Criminal Justice Coordinating Council's Byrne Justice Assistance existing local project grant program for continuation of 4 police department investigator positions directly supporting efforts of the Northeast Georgia Regional Drug Task Force and for other purposes. Item number 11. An ordinance to amend the FY 2025 operating capital budget for Athens-Clarke County, Georgia, so as to provide grant funding, if awarded, from the Housing and Urban Development Economic Development Initiatives, VIA, congressionally directed spending through Office of U.S. Senator John Ossoff for expenses related to rehabilitation of affordable housing units and for other purposes.
All right, thank you, Attorney Drake. All right, ordinances having been read, is there a motion for approval of those consent agenda items?
So moved. Second.
All right, have a motion from Commissioner Wright and a second from Commissioner Taylor. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, we'll go ahead and move to our planning and zoning items. Again, there are 3 planning and zoning items for which an individual has requested a 10-minute opportunity, and that is true on item 13. And so I have Ed Tolley, who's signed up for 10 minutes regarding item 13, 110 West Hancock Avenue. Even Mr. Tolley?
Good evening, Mayor, and I appreciate it. I hope I don't take 10 minutes. This is the last piece in the puzzle to bring to resolution what was a disagreement between the Methodist Church and the county and the city county in terms of what to do with the old Say building. Most of that has now been resolved, and what remains for this commission's consideration at item 13 is just the special use permit. And what I think you have in front of you, if you have it in front of you, the Armentrout, Matheny Thurmond engineering firm worked with the county officials to prepare what you see as the plat, so to speak, for the footprint of what was this building. This plat includes a handicap ramp. It includes new sidewalks. It includes substantial grass strips. It includes 13 new trees. It includes Bermuda sod as terms of beautification of this lot. It makes it, what we need is approval for special use permit for 12 parking spaces and for 2 handicap spaces in this area. I submit to you that this would be more of a beautification for that corner as a result of the good engineering work that the Armentrout firm has done for us. Present tonight on behalf of the church are one of the trustees and his wife, Mr. Griffin, back here. And I'm here, of course, representing the Methodist Church. For a bit of humor, Your Honor, I would just tell you that I'm a member of First Baptist, so I think it's unique that I'm here representing the Methodists, but we can deal with that. Are there any questions from anyone about this?
We'll just move to discussion after public
Okay,
input.
all right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Tolley. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to item 13 regarding the special use permit at 110 West Hancock Avenue? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move to discussion. Commissioner Wright, would you like to place a motion on the floor?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to approve, and we've been discussing this for a long time. I don't have any more discussion.
All right, motion to approve the special use permit.
Yes.
I'll second it.
All right, I've got a second from Commissioner Culpepper. All right, Commissioner Wright, any remarks?
No.
Commissioner Culpepper, second or any remarks? Commissioner Link.
Yeah, staff recommended not to approve this item. The Planning Commission recommended unanimously not to approve this item. Nothing has changed about this proposal from 2017-18. There's absolutely no reason to approve this. We've given the go-ahead for the demolition. There's no need to incentivize that by allowing a special use, which is in clear violation of all our policies, all our planning documents, and all our staff and the expert citizens that we appoint to decide on these matters.
Any other remarks regarding 110 West Hancock? All right, have a motion and a second. We'll go ahead and move to a roll call, clerk. Oh, there's an ordinance. I appreciate that. Thank you, Attorney
Ordinance to
Drake.
amend the Code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to special use approval of a parking lot in the CDDS Commercial Downtown Doherty Street Downtown Design Area District for a parcel of land at 110 West Hancock Avenue comprising approximately 0.57 acres in total and for other purposes.
We'll go ahead and do a roll call, beginning with Commissioner Wright.
Yes?
Fisher,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Culpepper,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Thornton,
Yes.
Hamby,
Yes.
Davenport,
Yes.
Link,
No.
Taylor.
No.
8 yes, 2 no.
All right, motion carries. Thank you all. All right, we're going to move on to item 14. Item 14 is 4530 Atlanta Highway along with 125 Bedgood Road. It's a proposed single-family and multifamily residential project. And I do have Scott Haines signed up for the 10-minute opportunity, so I'll call him to the podium first and then have any other public input on this item. Good evening, Mr. Haines.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Scott Haines. I work for W&A Engineering, located at 355 Anita Street in Athens, Georgia. I appreciate the opportunity to bring this amendment for you tonight. The fact is that this is an amendment and not a new PD. I think that's important to note. We are changing really very little about the existing underlying zoning while slightly increasing the density on this project. We know that staff has their opinions about the amendment. They believe it's a big departure from the original new urbanist foundation of the original PD. The fact is that that original plan had plenty of opportunity to be constructed, but after 20 years, it was not. Adjustments, of course, have to be made, and although this amendment doesn't check all of the new urbanist boxes, it does still contain several notable elements, such as walkability and access to green space, a logical gradation of use intensity, and a commitment to work with public transit. The real primary goal of this amendment is not to be some shining example of village amenity new urbanism, but more or less to meet the goals and needs of the residential housing that this community so desperately needs. Every time we push for greater architectural character or diversity, or against pod development which increases construction complexity, we must also recognize that these are cost-driving factors. And with every increased cost comes a slightly wider gap to meeting those community residential needs. This amendment could make a major impact to our housing crisis, and we feel it does strike a good balance between the needs and desires of this community. I think it's important to note that although staff and subsequently the Planning Commission did not support this amendment request, out of the 4 public hearings to date, not one member of the community has come out to the podium in opposition of this project. I cannot remember another project of this scale where that's been the case. No opposition. The reason for this, I believe, is that this project's in the right location. It doesn't have a major impact to other existing residential developments. Its primary access is to a major thoroughfare, Atlanta Highway. It's located in a school district that is underpopulated and could benefit from additional students and tax revenue. It's easily served by emergency services, with the fire department on Cleveland only 1.3 miles away, and the police station not much further. It has water and sewer capacity available to it, meaning that this is an area that we need to prioritize for development. And it was already approved for a similar use and has been in place for 20 years now. I understand this is a major project and a major decision for this body, and we need your approval. So if there is any reservation on moving forward, then we fully support a hold on this project to allow more time for further consideration. If this body is willing to move forward tonight, we ask that you grant our waiver requests and strike staff's recommended conditions 4 or 5, as those conditions would prohibit the approved plan from moving forward. I most certainly appreciate your consideration tonight. Happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Haines. Is there any other public input on item number 14, Atlanta Highway and Bedgood Road? All right, this is in District 6. I'll turn to Commissioner Johnson for a motion.
I move to hold this agenda item for 30 days.
A
Got
second.
Motion to hold from Commissioner Johnson.
A second.
Second from Commissioner Thornton. Commissioner Johnson, any remarks?
Yes. As Mr. Haines stated, this is a significant project. It's 207 acres in total and 925 residential units. it has the potential to either make that area great or not. And so it's so important that there are some things that I would like to look into further. And I'll start with public engagement. As Mr. Haines stated, that no one has come out to speak against it, and they've had four public forums. And I am willing to, before the next voting meeting, schedule a forum for our residents within District 6 and outside of District 6 to drop in to learn more about the project. I think it's important for something this significant for our residents to understand how it will impact them. I had the opportunity over the weekend to drive to 2 separate locations where this builder is building, and at first it was overwhelming. I'm not sure the size of the property location that I went to, but it wasn't 200 acres. It was actually less. It still was overwhelming. The one thing that made it a big negative, it was really one way in and one way out. This property, there will be 3 entrances and exits, so that's a plus. But it's still 207 acres. The one other thing is the proposed development timeline is 8 to 10 years. And there are figures in their proposal that indicate the affordability of the homes. Well, in 8 to 10 years, those prices may double. I just want us to be realistic, so I would like to schedule a forum for residents to drop in. And if there's something to gather, information to learn, I would like to provide that to the developer and go from there.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Thornton, any follow-up?
The only follow-up I would like to add, it seems that we are moving into this urbanistic concept. This is the new trend, I guess. And I know we're going to have a meeting or a presentation tomorrow. I'm very interested in that presentation. I want to know what other trends are out there. Urbanistic trending to me sounds so close to urban renewal. I just can't get it out my system. So hopefully tomorrow I'll have a better understanding exactly what that means. I do like the fact that there's trails. I do like the fact that this project is going to have greenery. Me personally, don't think every house has to look different from the house next door if you put a roof on them and people got the amenities to live. So I am interested. Hopefully I'll be more knowledgeable after our workshop. I guess that's tomorrow.
Correct. Tomorrow evening. Commissioner Hamby.
Sure, thank you, Mayor, and I'll be brief. And I will support the hold, but I will also give us a little bit of food for thought as we're thinking about this over the next 30 days. I think it was the mayor and I were on the commission when this was first approved as a planned development, and we were real excited about it just because of what we saw happening with Atlanta Highway and what needed to happen with Atlanta Highway as far as putting more heads in beds, I guess you'd say. That sounds kind of creepy, but it's heads in beds. I'll say it again. So and we saw that as a way to help improve Atlanta Highway, and I still do see it as a way to help improve Atlanta Highway. I mean, the more people that you have concentrated, maybe Costco would have come to Athens at that time 20 years ago, but who knows? But the fact is that I wish it would have been done 20 years ago. It wasn't, that's fine, but now we have a chance to make some amendments to this PD that hopefully can help move it along and get something going for Atlanta Highway. And I'll point out also, I see Assistant Director McConnell here. I remember a presentation, I think it was that you gave when we were doing Envision Athens at the time, where, Brad, am I wrong in saying this? I'm sorry, I should call you manager. I called her director, and she's an assistant manager. Manager Griffin, if you remember that discussion, it was with Envision Athens, and we had some outside group do some economic development analysis for us during all that, and gave a presentation, and actually pointed out this area as an area that's perfect for building residential spots, because people live in it, live in Athens, but would drive to Atlanta or drive that way. So this was a good area to capture some of those folks that want to live in Athens, but actually worked in the Atlanta area. So anyway, just a little bit of food for thought and seeing how, as you move along during the next month, seeing how you can help move this project along. Thank you.
All right, so the motion is to hold. Any further input? Commissioner Ling?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when this project first came up 20 years ago, and there was a lot of excitement about a new urbanist development in Athens. And it is a concept that's been around probably since the 90s. And it was an idea of moving beyond like suburban sprawl, where you had sprawling neighborhoods kind of isolated from goods and services and amenities. And this was a community that was planned to include those amenities, include commercial pockets, allow folks who live there access to kind of everyday needs within a walk or a short drive. And that was what was exciting. And we're seeing that kind of more and more become just the norm that we're looking for, in the way we plan things. I've had some discussion with the developers, and I'm prone to support the changes because our priorities have changed. A lot of those new urbanist concepts we've incorporated into our requirements, and this project still has the commercial up front, and it does have a variety of housing types. But they've made some changes that will make it more affordable, as far as infrastructure goes and the design of some of the homes. And our priorities now are, let's get some affordable housing. Let's get some volume. We have grown extremely rapidly since this was initially proposed. And, the more I think about it and the more I recognize the reality, those changes will help us meet that reality of the needs that we have now.
Got one more comment.
Commissioner Johnson?
I just want to thank Commissioner Link for making that comment, because I want to encourage all my colleagues to have, to look at this also and have an opinion about this. I don't want to lead District 6 with the decision and everyone follows. I would like there to be discussion, and I appreciate hearing what it used to be and what your thoughts are now. And I think we all have individual constituents. And this is so big that it will affect our community at large. So I do appreciate that, and I do encourage my other colleagues to speak up next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, I'm going to have Attorney Drake read the ordinance before we vote on the whole.
An ordinance to amend the Code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia, with respect to revising a plan development in the CGRM-2 and RS-5 commercial, general, mixed-density residential, and single-family residential plan development districts for 3 parcels of land comprising approximately 200.5 acres in total and located at 4500 and 4530 Atlanta Highway and 125 Bedgood Road, and for other purposes.
Thank you, Attorney Drake. All right, there's a motion from Commissioner Johnson with a second from Commissioner Thornton to hold for one cycle. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, we will see this in June. All right, next item on our agenda is 1075 Gaines School Road, which is an amendment to an existing plan development. Is there anyone from the public here to speak to this item? Come right up to the podium. And again, just let us know your name and your place of residence, and then your 3 minutes will begin.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. My name is Joe Fu. I reside at 550 Greencrest Drive with my fiancée there. That's the second house down from the proposed rezoning lot. I would like to speak against this rezoning into commercial retail. I don't know how familiar you are with the layout of that intersection. I mean, can I assume that you all are fully aware of it? Maybe not. I'm seeing yeses and nos. So let me just describe it. So that's the intersection, well, where Barnett Shoals makes a sharp turn, and there's the other direction is Gaines School Road. If you come in off Barnett Shoals, go straight across, you'll enter Greencrest Drive of the Green Acres Crestwood subdivision, if I'm not mistaken. I always get confused with those names, but I hope you all know what I'm talking about. Barnett Shoals, Gaines School Road, Crestwood Greencrest Drive, this residential street. In my opinion, this lot is very, very poorly situated for the proposed commercial retail use. If you look at the configuration, if you're coming from the south along Barnett Shoals, you can go straight through that red light, and then in principle you could turn right into the driveway there and go to your commercial retail. That would be fine. On the other hand, if you're coming from the north on Gaines School Road, I think there would be essentially no way to access this lot with a proper left turn. You'd be clogging the left turn lane into Greencrest Drive, or else, what I fear, you'd be tempted to take that left turn into Greencrest Drive, access enter our neighborhood, and try to access this lot through this driveway that exists there, which I think is a significant, depending on the amount of traffic, potentially significant disruption to the tranquility of our neighborhood. Have I been clear about what the configuration is? Thank you. So, in my firm opinion, this is not a good development for our neighborhood. I regret this. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with putting commercial retail use along this avenue. Unfortunately, the situation of this particular property at that spot, there is, as I say, there's essentially no reasonable way to access it coming from the north. And I feel confident that will occur frequently, especially, I suppose, I'm sure the developer has high hopes for high use of this property. People are going to come from whatever direction they choose. It's not going to be good for our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fu. Is there anyone else here to speak to item number 15?
I'm Melanie Aaron,
Good evening.
165 Clyde Road, Athens, Georgia. That's in Green Acres, further into the neighborhood. But I've been driving those streets since I was 16. I concur with the previous speaker. It's a really awkward corner that's different than the other corners because the two across, one that's diagonal, have commercial behind them, and there's a lot of access there. The one across Greencrest, the bank, has an extra empty lot that they have landscaped, and they have more than one entry and exit to get in and out of there. It's my understanding that if this is rezoned, regardless, it's going to have only the one entry and exit right there onto Greencrest, which that drive also goes into the church. The church has a lot of community activities. I can't think of any commercial retail type of development that's not going to have a lot more cars, traffic, but also delivery trucks. And I used to drive a 40-foot bus for 3.5 years. I used to take it between the livestock pens and the Coliseum at the UGA, but no one was in my way. You know, I could get it right in there, but nobody was there. That's our main entry and exit to Green Acres. It's the main used one. It's it's a place where as traffic's leaving and you have cars back up and then you have cars coming out of the bank across, which is never more than a few cars because it's a bank. How are those people going to get turned in there to that one driveway to leave and come into that property? And there's the church and there's the basketball court that kids use. I just am totally against this. I don't think it's suitable. It's an office now, and it's a great use for an office. And there's plenty of offices and plenty of different things you can use it for as it's zoned now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Aaron. Is there anyone else here to speak to item 15? Good evening.
Hi, I'm Ken Portier. I live at 160 Spruce Valley Road in Cedar Creek. Just so you know, it's not just Greencrest people who are speaking about this development. A number of us on the east side have looked at this property, and it probably can use development, but it does work as a commercial office right now. It's landscaped nice. It has low traffic. This intersection that one of the previous speakers talked about is probably a key intersection for the east side. We know right now that we have at least 4 new developments on Barnett Shoals, housing developments. They're all coming down Barnett Shoals, turning the corner to go to Publix, the new Kroger, right? That traffic's only going to build up. We really don't need a non-office in this space. The second thing is it's maybe premature to allow this rezoning because we really don't know what they want to put in there. This is snug up against Covenant Presbyterian Church. They've got a playground on the backside. There's maybe enough room for a small restaurant. That might be it. I don't know what else they could put in there. So just pointing out, this is a key intersection that a number of us on the east side have proposed the TSPLOST to look at and restructure that intersection. This would only make it worse. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fortier. Is there anyone else here to speak to item number 15? All right, seeing none, we'll move to the commission. Commissioner Myers, would you like to place a motion on the floor?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to table this to our June meeting.
I'll second.
Second.
Okay, motion to table from Commissioner Myers till June, second from Commissioner Link. Commissioner Myers, any remarks?
Yeah, I do want to make a bunch of remarks. I agree with many of the comments that were just made from residents on the east side here. And a big issue with the development, the zoning change right now is that the uses, when it goes to CN, are much broader. Some might say they're not that different, but they're much broader, allowing certain things like convenience stores, bars and restaurants, and some height and differences and some coverage lot distances. The developer has talked with me. We had back and forth, but we didn't have enough back and forth to involve residents in any kind of discussions, which he's eager to do. So those people who want to, he's wanting me to get people from the community together to talk with him to see if there's any possibility of putting some conditions on this that would satisfy what he is asking for. Recently, when he's been speaking to me, he actually has been speaking about medical offices. There's limits in CO about how large that space could be. I think he's interested in doing a larger space. But those are some things that, we just had this final discussion today about 4 o'clock, but that I want to talk to him about and get the neighbors involved in it as well. I'm also concerned about the landscaping changes there, the tree cover changes. That has some pretty significant trees that really add to the feel of the east side rather than just being an asphalt strip. I actually took a picture of them yesterday. They're not quite in those power lines yet. I was discussing that with, they're pretty far away from those power lines. So I think that he's open to making some conditions on there. I did not promise him anything, but I did promise him that I would put this hold on and that we'd have some discussions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Link, anything else?
Yeah, I just agree with Commissioner Myers. It gives me a little pause that it's a straight-up rezone, and, the possibilities are pretty big on what could go there if it's a straight-up rezone. So I'm eager to hear some conditions being put on it.
And I just want to follow up that it also, it abuts on one side the church, which is interested in using more of the parking, but that means that it can't be a business that's open on Sundays, right, if they're going to be using that parking. It also has a basketball court right on that little road where people come in, a small one that's used by the community that then is right next to the houses that one of our speakers was referring to here. So I want to make sure that all of the pieces of this work together as well.
All right, anything else before I have Attorney Drake read the ordinance? All right, go ahead, Attorney Drake.
Ordinance to amend the Code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to rezoning one parcel of land comprising approximately 0.8 acres located at 1075 Gaines School Road from COPD Commercial Office Plan Development to CN Commercial Neighborhood and for other purposes.
Thank you. All right, got a motion to hold till the June cycle. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, we're moving on to item 16. I have a request for the 10-minute opportunity for input from David Ellison, so I'll call Mr. Ellison to the podium. Good evening.
Good evening, David Ellison on behalf of the applicant. My client desires to rezone this property from CN to RM3, so it'll be used for multifamily affordable housing. There'll be 80 bedrooms, and the goal is to participate in HUD's low-income tax program. We're not applying for voluntary zoning, inclusionary zoning ordinance because we do not need the density. But if approved, we'd apply for this program and we'd be restricted by a restricted covenant. The plan is to have 35 apartments at 60% AMI and 11 at 50% AMI. We understand that there are concerns from the agenda setting session about if this gets denied from the state, that this could be student housing. But just 2 points I want to raise. One is that we don't believe this site is feasible for student housing. As y'all seen, all the student housing is downtown and walking distance to the campus. The other issue is that my client, RA Ventures, is not in the student housing business. They have developed over 100 affordable housing projects in the state of Georgia using this program. They either are affordable housing workforce development or affordable housing age-restricted developments. We are seeking age-restricted for 2025, but I'm also pleased to say that due to the concerns that this body raised at the agenda-setting session, my client has negotiated an extension with the property owner for another year. So if they don't get it this month, they get to reapply next year to try to get another crack at it. And so we'd ask that you trust my client and their expertise. They know what they're doing, and give them an opportunity to apply for these credits. And of course, the zoning is required in order to do that. We ask that you not let fear of student housing prevent you from denying this, because it would knock this property off the board for 2025 and 2026. And it could chill the industry, so you have an experienced affordable housing developer trying to come in and satisfy demand, and that request would be denied. Beyond even what my client and their expertise in this field, it just makes sense from an objective land use criteria. This property has been vacant since 2011, and we're seeking a productive use of land. This proposed rezone is compatible with the future land use map. Staff report notes that it places multifamily to the rear of a commercial property behind a commercial corridor. This proposed zone is compatible with the comp plan and all the zoning ordinances. It increases supply and variety of quality housing units at multiple price points, increases access to affordable housing, creates a nodal development tied to transportation, healthcare, jobs, and workforce and housing. This location provides walking distance to a commercial node and multiple transit stops. It also increases access to green space. It's adjacent to a park. But at the end of the day, it provides a nice transitional zoning between commercial uses along Lexington Highway to existing single-family residential. We think this is an ideal site for RM3. We're not seeking any exceptions or variances, so we'd apply by all your design guidelines in the ordinance. Just follow up on one more point too about the agenda setting session, some comments about amenities. My client looked at the site plan again, and they've added a community garden, a pavilion, and trail to the park. Obviously, we're not a binding site plan, but what they want to do is continue to look at the site, hopefully gets rezoned, and see what else they can do as they spend more time on this particular project. They are required by the Georgia Department of Community Affairs to have certain amenities, to be complying with that. But one thing that they would be happy to do, and this was a comment in the staff report, was to have connectivity to the park. And that's something that my client's happy to work with on Leisure Services. So in closing, I ask that you please approve this rezone. Staff recommended approval. Planning Commission recommended approval. I would ask that you approve this as well because it's consistent with your land use policies and allow my client to proceed to get tax credits either for this year or next year. And if you all have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Ellison. Is there any other input on item 16 from members of the public? All right, I'll turn to Commissioner Davenport for a motion.
Okay, I am a motion to deny.
Second.
Got a motion from Commissioner Davenport for denial, second from Commissioner Taylor. Commissioner Davenport, go
Yes.
ahead and provide
Thank
any
you.
input you'd like.
And on paper, everything that Mr. Ellison said sounds good. The light tech credit, the amenities, but none of that is binding. So all they're asking for is just a straight rezone. And I looked at the developer. So just because it's workforce does not mean that students can't move into it. And students are moving to the east side. There are a lot of, it is on a bus route, and there was a clubhouse added. And I have a lot of questions about the senior residence that's displayed here. It's not that the senior residences are bad. What I'm asking is, if all the amenities and the details that are very defined in this proposal, why not make it binding? I think our community would feel more comfortable if this project was binding, and if we can guarantee that it will be senior residences instead of something else. But based on what we'll be approving tonight, it's just asking for a straight rezone. So tomorrow, something else could be, super fun house residences, because all we'll be approving just for a straight rezone. If the applicant is interested in withdrawing the application and coming back to us, since they got approval for a year extension, I will accept that. But I just have a lot of questions about the height, 3 to 5 stories, split level, and if it's senior residence, I get the fact that there's only one elevator, but you got 80 units. One would think that if you're going to have 80 residents in a senior living with workforce, that you may have, maybe 2 elevators. But I know that's not, we can't force that because it's not code. But there are other senior residents on the east side on Barnett Road that have multiple elevators that are actually designed for senior residents to live in. But I just hope my colleagues understand that a 3 to 5 story looks good on paper, but the applicant's just only asking for a straight rezone.
Commissioner Taylor, any follow-up?
I totally agree with what my colleague said. I think that we do have to be very mindful and careful when we are just approving straight rezones, because there are several examples in our community now of where we've rezoned projects and they didn't turn out to be what we initially thought that they were going to be once we voted on them. And so I totally agree with what Commissioner Davenport said.
Commissioner Link.
Yeah, I like this project. I feel like it is a very necessary project in the perfect location. I mean, as someone who is staring down 60 with a lot of friends in the same situation, I recognize the need for senior housing, and especially for affordable senior housing. The developer did send us quite a bit of information about about the other projects they've done and, improvements to the project that they presented here, especially the connectivity aspect of it, and additional recreation space. I know what student housing looks like because it's creeping all over my district, and this is not an ideal location for it. I understand that a non-binding site plan kind of gives heartburn. I would like to make a substitute motion to table this for 30 days, so maybe you guys can have more discussion about it, because I really feel like this is some necessary housing in an ideal location.
So substitute motion to table for 30 days, one
Yeah.
cycle?
I'll second.
All right. So I've got a second from Commissioner Wright to table for 30 days. Commissioner Wright?
I felt like Commissioner Davenport had brought up some ideas that would allow the applicant to feedback on it. Commissioner Davenport, I did have a question. I'm looking at page 503. are you in the full packet?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at 503, it talks about a one-story common space and then 3-story units. Where, do you have a page number so I can learn more about the 5-story part?
I may have misspoke, I'm sorry. 3 to 4 story, split level.
I think it's 3 stories just on the end. But anyway, so I'm supporting the hold for that back and forth on the issues that you brought up in case that was possible.
Commissioner Thornton?
I was prepared to support this until Commissioner Davenport brought out some good points. But if we're going to do the hold for the next cycle, I would like to know how long is the LIHTC agreement in place? Is it 20 years? Is it 30 years or whatever? I would like to know. And it may be in the package.
Do you want to know if the applicant has that information now?
Oh, do you have it?
I don't know if you have a kind of intended time for the length of the LIHTC.
It'll be 30 years. It'll be restricted covenant. That would run with the land.
So it's 30 years, and then, so there's no ability to transfer or sell before 30 years?
Yes, anyone who buys this property, they'd be subject to that restrictive covenant.
Okay.
And it wouldn't be a zoning ordinance, but it'll be enforceable by the government.
Thank you.
And just to follow up on one comment about the motion to table, if there's any concerns about a binding site plan, if this is denied, then we cannot apply for the tax credits for 2026. And so if there's any concerns here, we welcome a motion to table to address that so that we're not banned for this cycle and next cycle. Obviously, we would like this to be approved on its merits tonight, but we will just make that aware as well so we can at least save 2026.
Other input?
No, I totally agree. I wouldn't want to.
I do, just kind of having seen a lot of projects go through, I've recognized that oftentimes, you have understandable question marks around a project. And like we talked about with the project over here at the entry to Green Acres, that sometimes conditions can satisfy those. And you might recall at the agenda setting meeting, we talked about a piece of federal law called the Housing for Older Persons Act that allows you to designate a property only for seniors. So that may be something that in the next month we can get baked in with some help from the attorney, given that prospective student use seems to be a concern, or prospective non-senior use. So, Commissioner Davenport?
Yes, and I do support a hold, and I do apologize for not reaching out diligently to the applicant, because he did reach out, but some of us was in Savannah, and the first of the month for commissioners are usually our busiest, especially it been budget season. But I do want to say, just to keep in mind for my colleagues, that we had a similar situation with a project that's off of Lexington Road. They were approved a couple of years ago, and they're like, oh, no, it's not going to be student housing. It's all student housing. They said it was workforce development. It's 3 stories tall building that jettisons out of nowhere, and they said the exact same thing, like, just approve it. It's gonna be for workforce, and there may be some, residents who live and work in that facility, but I would guarantee you 60% of those residents now are students. So students are coming to the east side, so.
So there is a motion, a second to hold. All in favor, please say aye.
Mr. Mayor, may I read the ordinance?
Let me have Attorney Drake read the ordinance. I
Ordinance to
apologize.
amend the Code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to rezoning a parcel of land comprising approximately 2.06 acres located at 155 Whit Davis Road from CN Commercial Neighborhood to RM3 Mixed Density Residential and for other purposes.
All right, again, all in favor of the hold, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we will see this next month. All right, item 17 is 220 College Avenue. Is there anyone here to speak to 220 College Avenue tonight?
Are you mad about them brakes?
Evening.
Good evening. My name is David Matheny. I'm with Armentrout, Matheny, Thurmond, and I live at 200 Mount Vernon Place. I'm here to represent Brett Thurmond, the author of the report that you have before you, and the applicant for the special use permit. That is required now for bars that will serve over 100 patrons. I don't need to reiterate everything in the report. I'm sure that it's been clearly observed by each of you. But since this report was first generated, there have been some updates as follows. The Fire Marshal's Office has approved the plans, and the Health Department has also approved the plans. So therefore, all Athens-Clarke County reviewing departments have approved the plans that was submitted to them, and for the new Athena Bar and Lounge. And as you're also aware, the Planning Commission has unanimously recommended approval of this special use permit, and so I ask for your approval of this permit. And of course, I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matheny. Is there anyone else here to speak to item 17, 220 College? All right, go ahead and turn to Commissioner Wright for a motion.
Yeah, I motion to approve this special use permit. We're looking forward to seeing business in that area. It's been vacant for a couple of years. So.
Second.
All right, got a motion from Commissioner Wright, and we've got a second from Commissioner Hamby. Commissioner Wright, anything further?
That was it.
Commissioner Hamby?
Sure. If we put this item on hold, I'm leaving.
Moving it. We're moving it.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on.
All
We can
right,
do it. We can do
the-
it.
The June meeting will be lasting till July. Any further input from members of the body? All right, let me have Attorney Drake read the ordinance.
An ordinance to amend the Code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to special use approval in the CD, DHD, Commercial Downtown, Downtown Historic District Design Area for one parcel of land located at 220 College Avenue and for other purposes.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, is there any member of the public who would like to speak to item 18, the 1030 Barnett Shoals site of the public library? Library lovers, library haters. All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move to a motion from Commissioner Myers.
Yeah, I am happy to motion to approve this zoning item.
Second. All right, I've got a motion from Commissioner Myers for approval, second from Commissioner Fisher. Commissioner Myers, any further remarks?
No, I'm just happy with this. My quick remark is I'm just going to repeat, there's more people listening, if you want to get a feel for what this is going to be like, it's going to be another 2 years before we see this. Just go visit the Krogers. No, not the Krogers. Go over to the library at the Wire Park. That's a little bit larger, but it gives you the feel of what can be added, like the community feel that could be added. So for those of you eager to get a feel for what the East Side Library is, take a trip to Wire Park.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, just glad to see that the East Side is getting a library. I think it's going to be very valuable for that community and also for our young people. So, yeah.
Anyone else? All right, I have an ordinance from Attorney Drake.
An ordinance to amend the Code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to rezoning a parcel of land comprising approximately 6.29 acres located at 1030 Barnett Shoals Road from RM to mixed-tenancy residential to G government and for other purposes.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, item 19 is a text amendment request regarding appeals. Have a motion regarding this item? Oh, excuse me, let me, opportunity for public input on 19. Apologize. All right, is there a motion from a member of the body?
So moved.
Second.
All right, got a motion from Commissioner Wright, second from Commissioner Davenport. Commissioner Wright, any remarks?
No, just read them, but vote.
Commissioner Davenport?
I'll just thank staff for clarifying the administrative hearing officer for appeals.
Anyone further? All right, I'll have Attorney Drake read this ordinance.
An ordinance to amend the Code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to appeals of Type 4 decisions and for other purposes.
All right, thank you, Attorney Drake. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, item 20 is modification regarding the appeal for timelines of sign variances. Anybody excited to speak to this in the public tonight? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion from a member of the body. Is there a motion?
So moved.
All right, I've got a motion from Commissioner Davenport. Is there a second?
Second.
I've got a second from Commissioner Fisher. Commissioner Davenport?
Nope, just thank staff for cleaning things up.
Commissioner Fisher? Anyone else? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Mr. Mayor, may I read the ordinance?
Let me have Attorney Drake read the ordinance. See, skipping steps here, getting so excited about moving forward.
An ordinance to amend the Code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to appeals of sign variances and for other purposes.
All right, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, now is that time for public input on old and new business. And those are items 21 through 32. 21 through 32. So that same 3-minute opportunity is yours. Just let us know the item you're speaking to. Again, your name and your place of residence.
Hello, this is Dylan Woolsey. My residence is 505 Reuben Parkway. The item I'm speaking in favor of is item 26, the reestablishment of the Land Bank Authority. This seems like if they're able to get a plan of how to better utilize its authority to promote affordable housing, I think that's a useful tool in our tool belt, so I hope you approve this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan. Anyone else here to speak to old or new business? Again, 21 through 32. Good evening.
Hi, I'm Jared York. I live at 595 Woodlawn Avenue in Athens, Georgia. I'm here to speak to item number 21. I just want to thank people tonight. Want to thank Mayor and Commission for representing our community. I want to thank those of you who asked questions and interacted with our team on this project at Cedar Ridge that we've worked so hard on. I want to thank the Planning Commission for recommending approval of the project. I want to thank staff for reviewing the project and helping us through that process. Also want to thank the neighboring property owners who worked with us to secure easements for this project, which will allow better stormwater design and really help their neighbors around them as well. Want to thank the commercial zone neighbors adjacent to us on both sides on Cedar Ridge who have given their support for this project. Also the many neighbors around who have supported Cedar Ridge. Want to thank Kent Middleton and from the Green Acres HOA who met with us, gave us great input on this project, and ultimately came before you in support of the project a little while ago. Also want to thank Kenneth Portier and the rest of the board members at Cedar Creek for meeting with us several times, giving us very quality feedback on this project. And although we weren't able to meet eye to eye on everything that they wish for on this project, I think those meetings resulted in a better project. I want to thank Brett Nave for his wonderful architecture work on the project. I think it looks really good. I want to thank the staff at W&A for their design work and their engineering, especially Buck Bacon and Scott Haines, who have been awesome to work with. Very proud of this project. I stand by the fact that it's the best fee simple townhome project that has been before Mayor and Commission. I think it's in an incredible location. It's where housing is needed, and I certainly am hopeful that you give us the opportunity to build it. Thank you for your consideration, and please let us know if you have any additional questions.
Thank you, Mr. York. Good evening.
Michael McClendon, 201-9 Hamilton Road in Athens. I'd like to briefly speak to item number 22, School Resource Officer. When this came about, I guess in March was when the executive summary was put together. I was scratching my head, and I've scratched it so hard I've got a sore up here on it, because I cannot understand why we are providing $110,000 to support a Clarke County school system requirement when we can't fully fund our own Athens-Clarke County Police Department requirements, when Clarke County School Systems has over a $50 million reserve. So to me, this is not fiscally responsible for the citizens of Athens-Clarke County when that money could be used to take care of the needs for the real-time crime center staffing, which is not fully funded in the mayor's budget. So my recommendation to you is go back and renegotiate this with Clarke County School System.
Thank you, Mr. McClendon. Is there anyone else here to speak to any item of old or new business? Again, 21 through 32. Good evening.
Robert Gorman, 190 Mockingbird Circle in Cedar Creek. As Mr. York said, I'm part of the group from the Cedar Creek Civic Association that met on this project, and we do appreciate some of the restrictions they voluntarily added to the project. We still have a major concern with tree cover. As you know, the Gaines School Road corridor overlay, the airport overlay, and just zoning, these are variances that have been recommended for all of those things. One of the things that can't be included in a PD is the exact kind of tree cover, and we're trying to maintain the character of Gaines School Road and that part of East Side. This project is right across from the Cedar Creek subdivision. The concern is that you really can't put into a PD the exact look of what the tree cover will be. That's negotiated with the planning department after, if and after a approval is granted. Our concern is that what we don't want to see is a big gap in Cedar Creek, in Gaines School Road, where the character becomes more commercial. It's already commercial down by Lowe's, it's already commercial, very commercial up by Kroger's and Publix. That one area that's still looking residential and in the character of Athens with the tree cover is along Gaines School Road. And we want to maintain that character. And so our concern remains with the exact look. There are just in the last couple of weeks, a couple more properties on Gaines School Road in the same area went up for sale. And, you know, I understand any variances given to this project are not legally binding on future projects, but they certainly create a precedent. So we're very concerned about tree cover and how that would be covered to maintain that character of Gaines School Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gorman. Is there anyone else here to speak to any item of old or new business? Good evening.
Good evening, y'all. My name is Bruno Giri, and I live at 112 Whitehead Road in Athens. I'm here to speak to item number 24, which is the project on College Square. I also am representing a nonprofit called the Upper Oconee Watershed Network. We've been around since the late 90s. We do water quality monitoring, and one of the things that we that we really emphasize is that stormwater runoff is a huge source of pollution. And so I wanted to encourage you guys as this project moves forward. I've had some discussion with my colleague, Todd Stevenson, and there are some concerns about the less than rigorous stormwater management practices that are intended with the project. And so I really just wanted to come up here as a representative of UON and as a Athens-Clarke County citizen and encourage you guys to hold the company responsible for some nice this is a very visible project, and it's a good opportunity to show how important stormwater management is. And as we move forward, you know, as a community, to please encourage this project to be as rigorous and as robust when it comes to stormwater management as you can possibly do so. And UON is available to talk with y'all about, you know, things that we have seen and noticed and observed when it comes to stormwater pollution issues. It is a huge issue. It is probably the #1 pollution issue. So thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate it. And we are excited about this project. You know, we think it's a lovely project, but we really encourage y'all to please keep stormwater management in mind as you move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sherry. Is there anyone else here to speak to any item of old or new business? Again, 21 to 32. Good evening.
My name's Ross Watson. I live at 430 Sandstone Drive and a resident of Cedar Creek. First of all, I want to thank the commission in the last meeting to extend the discussion on this particular project regarding the safety of it. The analysis came back, and of course, that they're not going to be putting in any type of a traffic light, to my understanding, to handle the traffic of pedestrians and vehicles, etc. If I'm wrong on that, someone can correct me, but I don't think I am. Number two, I want to particularly thank the developer, Mr. York. I want to thank W&A, two professional organizations to work with that have just been fantastic. I think the plan is a beautiful plan, okay? I don't know if it's in the right place at the right time. And the reason I say that is I was reading an article, and I'm taking a little bit of liberty here, But Commissioner Thornton made a statement at a conference this last week that, and if I may quote him, I didn't realize the problem until I started talking to all of you at the summits like this. I was not a fan of accessory dwelling units earlier. I'm a fan now if you do it right. And I think there's a lot of things right about this project. I don't think the location is the best. I don't think it's the best for the community in the safety aspect of it. I'm really concerned about the safety. I was very disappointed that the state regulations and everything became more of a liability than a positive thing to even talk about, to my understanding. But I hope there's an opportunity to utilize this property to a degree of something like this development. I had similar things about ADUs. This one is designed right. It's from the beginning. You know, we're not trying to add ADUs in some other type of a zoning or something. So I just ask you to think about it, you know, and let's be sure that this is the right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. Is there anyone else here to speak to old or new business tonight? Again, 21 to 32. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Buck Bacon, and I'm with W&A Engineering. Our office is located here at 355 Oneida Street, and I am speaking on behalf of the applicant for item 21. First, I want to thank staff, Planning Commission, this body for your interest in this project and for the ongoing engagement throughout the process. We still believe that this project offers many benefits to the community. It addresses downstream drainage issues and improves off-site sanitary sewer along Spring Tree Drive. This site offers interconnectivity with the adjacent neighborhood, increases single-family owner-occupied housing opportunities. It provides a generous green space, includes a multi-use trail along Gaines School Road. It includes the accessory dwelling units. It offers a mix of residential and commercial units. So we're excited about this project. We believe it's a good fit for the Gaines School Road corridor. And with that said, we'd like to ask for your support and approval of the project. And please let us know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bacon.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak to any item of old or new business? Again, those are 21 through 32 tonight. All right, we'll move to commission discussion. I'll go ahead and have Attorney Drake read the ordinance first for item 21.
There's two for 21, Mr. Mayor. The first one's a future land use map, and the second's a rezoning. Future land use map, an ordinance to amend the Code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to amending the future land use map of Athens-Clarke County by changing the designation of approximately 7.07 acres of land located at 450 Gaines School Road from Main Street Business and Traditional Neighborhood to Main Street Business and for other purposes. I'll go ahead and read the other one just to get out of the way. Ordinance to amend the Code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to rezoning two parcels of land comprising approximately 7.9 acres located at 450 and 460 Gaines School Road from CO and RS-15 GSRC-A, Commercial Office and Single Family Residential, Gaines School Road Quarter Overlay, Airport Overlay to CN and RM2 GSRC-A PD, Commercial Neighborhood Mixed Density Residential, Gaines School Road Quarter Overlay, Airport Overlay, Plan Development, and for other purposes.
All right, thank you, Attorney Drake. All right, entertain a motion on item 21.
Deny.
Future land use.
Oh, future land
For
use.
future land use?
Yeah, deny.
Motion to deny.
Motion.
Motion to deny from Commissioner Taylor. Is there a second?
Second.
I've got a motion to deny from Commissioner Taylor for future land use and a second from Commissioner Davenport. Go ahead, Commissioner Taylor.
First of all, I don't deny everything that Mr. Bacon just said about this, this development. On paper, it looks amazing. We do need the housing. Home occupied ownership opportunities are something that I do champion for. However, this development being in this area with as much congestion that it has, I don't think that it's a good fit for that particular property. We just lost 2 people in that same area Friday in front of the McDonald's. Was it Friday? Either Friday before last, maybe 2 weeks ago. Because it's congested there. I know that there was something said about housing in that area. That area has plenty housing. We actually just approved several developments to go within that area this body. So I think that with the strains on Gainesville Road, that is going to put pressure on our in-town roads. It's going to be congested through Seagraves. All of the back roads are going to be congested, just as well as Gainesville, Lexington Road, and Byrne shows. All of these roads are going to intertwine with each other, or that's probably not the right word, but I don't work with planning. So, again, I think that this is a great project. I just don't think that it's a good fit for the area.
Commissioner Davenport?
Yes, if my colleagues would grant me an extra time, I will be brief, and I promise that the rest of the evening I'll be quiet. I'll try. So one of the commissioners mentioned today that trees add to the feel of the east side, and I'm a big proponent of trees. So if you look at the zoning that's currently there, CO in the front, RS15 in the back, the developer will be able to build something decent and something sensible without the congestion. As well, with the applicant is asking for not only a rezone, but a change in the future land use, which is a lot. So when people move to the east side, they like the quietness. They like to see the stars at night. They like the slower feel. A lot of people move to a boulevard because they want to be in a walkable neighborhood. They want to be close to Nose. A lot of people move to Five Points because they want to be close to UGA. So the aesthetics and the feel of the east side is real. And I think people in our community need to appreciate that. And I would hate for this commission to deny the folks who've been here for generations, who bought into that feel, to have that destroyed by this project. This project is not bad. It's beautiful in design, but considering the fact that considering the fact that the density that the applicant is asking for, it is very intrusive. Gainesville Road is very tree lined. It's very congested. You got 3 schools on that road. Just like my commissioner stated, there have been some traffic accidents and some fatalities lately, and this will add more traffic to an already congested area with the county's current largest neighborhood right across the street. We've got a lot of kids walking, got a lot of people walking. But the main thing is the variances that this applicant is asking for that brings a lot of concern to me. I have concerns about the stormwater. Y'all know I love my trees, and there should be no variance for any trees. But if they're built by right, the tree cover would be maintained. But they're asking for a reduction in trees, and there will be, like one of the residents stated, a gap in the tree cover on Gainesville Road. We already got commercial on the eastern end, the southeastern end, near the Kroger, and that's good. But my biggest concern, and I mentioned this in my newsletter, is whenever we do a rezone, I want my colleagues to understand, whenever you do a rezone, especially a future land use rezone, the propensity for the neighboring property to be rezoned increases. Let me explain to you that. So we approve the Atlas, which is off of Lexington Road. Then next door to that, we approve Seagraves. Both of those were rezoned, and it started with the Atlas, which was a 5-4 split vote, when actually it was a 5-5 vote split.
Everybody okay with additional time for Commissioner?
Yes, do the history.
It was 5-5 split vote, and there was another project that was near the airport that we rezoned, and that we're using LIHTC funds. But anyway, let me go back to the Atlas. And the adjacent property was because the developer, the property owner who was willing to sell, said, okay, I can get more money off of this, and went to a developer. And the developer was like, okay, now that property rezoned, how about we rezone the next property and build more housing, a more denser type of housing? So now the creek from the Atlas is going all the way down Lexington Road, and the people who got these single-family houses on 1 or 2 acre lots are getting pushed out. But there's another project that's very, and my commissioner to my, when my neighbor commissioner had called me, we just approved a project next to the airport, and it was a rezone. They were using LIHTC funding. I had questions about height and how the airplanes would land, and my fellow commissioner asked me, Patrick, what do you think? What should we do? And I said, my spider senses are tingling, but I like we need the housing, and they were going to use LIHTC funds and all this stuff. And one of my commissioners had mentioned, well, there's some duplexes next door, right next door to it. What will happen to them? And the developer said, oh, nothing's going to happen to them. Those duplexes, they're being rented for $650, $450 to $100 to like $700, depending on the room, the amount of rooms. So we did a rezone, we approved it, and this was just 4 months ago. And now those people in the duplex are getting kicked out, and me and people in the community are trying to find places for those residents who had low income, really low, $450 a month in duplexes. You know, we talk about multifamily housing, and duplexes are multifamily housing, but those individuals are not getting kicked out because the property owner's like, well, this next door is rezoned, so I'm gonna sell this property and kick everybody out and rezone it because now it's more valuable. The exact same thing is gonna happen in my view, is gonna happen on Gaines Grove Road. If you look across the street and next door, those properties are for sale and undeveloped. I am not going to allow, sitting here as long as I'm here, I'm not going to allow the destruction of the east side. I want to keep my trees, I want to keep the peace, I want to keep the quiet. We can have sense of development. We got 4555 Lexington Road that we approved 2 years ago that's been built. There's a lot of people who are upset about that because of the tree cover that's buffering East Hampton, and people are mad about that. But that was a sensible build. I agree in sensible design, I agree in sensible development. This is not it. And I beg and urge my colleagues to agree. Thank you.
Any further input? Commissioner Wright?
Yeah, I understand the passion. I guess I disagree with the crystal ball that you're looking forward about. I think that this project is good. I know that area, it's a greenfield. It's been a chain link fence, grass, trees area, I guess probably as long as you've been around and even before. And I understand that. So any change there is a huge change. And it's an unkept sidewalk. It seems that this project is going to bring in more sidewalks around in the stormwater. I see positive with this project. I will be not voting to deny. I won't be voting to deny it.
Would you like to make a substitute motion, Commissioner?
I'll make a substitute motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right,
Future land use.
Got a substitute motion regarding future land use from Commissioner Wright to approve, second from Commissioner Link. Commissioner Link?
Yeah, I mean, this is a well-designed project. This is the kind of pocket of density that, we need and we see in some of our in-town neighborhoods. And the fact that, it has this variety of footprints, I'm flying blind here because my internet's not working, so I can't call the plan up. But I've made myself pretty familiar with it. And it's beautifully designed. The ADUs are directly across from the single-family home, so they're of a comparable scale. There's also a lot of public benefit to this project. We've got some stormwater and some sewer upgrades that neighboring property owners will be able to tie into. The sidewalk improvement is tremendous. Also, I do have some heartburn about the speed on Gaines School Road. I took a trip out there this weekend, and I understand we've had pedestrian deaths there, and that is not the fault of any developer. That is the fault of our road design. That is a corridor that is ripe for a road diet or road right sizing. And I look forward to seeing what the TSPLOST committee brings forward for addressing that problematic corridor. You know, I think this is the kind of project that can provide a model for this kind of pocket infill, modest density and fee simple, missing middle housing.
Any others? Commissioner Myers?
Yeah, I see this project as this discussion on this project as a lot to do with our future land use plan discussions that we've had across the community, that I've gone to the wonderful workshops that we've had. We had the presentation on the east side and such. So I see this sort of epitomizes this for me, and so for me, the project aligns very well with some of the future land use plans that the community has been reviewing, which would have this area be a minor corridor with mixed-density residential in the back portion. And I am supportive of it after much thought and much discussion on this, because from what I see, we have three choices in how we look at growth in the next 20 to 30 years as we get, 20 to 30,000 people in here. We resist development changes, try to stay the same, properties get more expensive because there's more demand. We expand into our green areas, but that's going to be very expensive because infrastructure and water is really expensive. And we also are having trouble keeping up with what we have already built. And then there's the environmental impacts of doing that, without doing it carefully. And finally, you have the option of using more infill density in areas where we already have infrastructure and transit. They're more bikeable and walkable options, and that's what the Gaines School Corridor is. The project may not be perfect, but it does provide exactly such density. Like my colleagues have said, there are townhouses for some attractive green space in it. There's a 3-story building, but it's in the middle. The ADU options allow homeowners to be landlords, help pay for their mortgage costs, or keep a family member there. It has that small-scale retail up front, which could provide, could provide nice community places. It conform, and I want to ask about this later. Perhaps the planning director could talk about the tree policy and what kind of trees are going in. But we have guidelines about what kind of trees can be used. Includes that multi-use trail and so forth. So I know I have various Eastside residents who used to be my constituents, and elected officials who are my colleagues and respected colleagues who are not supporting it. I respect your point of view, but I'll hope they'll respect mine as I'm trying to think this through really carefully and look at our future growth that I know we can't stop. I think 30 years ago I thought you could stop growth, but now I know that we can manage it, steer it, and help shape it, but we can't stop it. So that's all I have to say on this one, so I'll be supporting the substitute motion.
Did you briefly want Director Lonnie to describe sort of
the
our
trees,
tree requirements?
like the tree requirements and the kinds of trees that go in there, because it is a field and a lot of bush, like low growth there. There are some trees, but not really big ones.
So as a general rule, with plan developments, we have not been having binding tree management plans because species selection, placement of the trees, we want to have the flexibility to be able to put those in and meet code. So just to make sure we understand what meeting code means, there's an overall canopy requirement and there's a conserved canopy requirement. We have a requirement for street trees and we have a requirement for parking lot trees. In this instance, with this development, there is an overall canopy request to waive, but the request to waive has not asked for the ability to waive the street trees or the parking lot trees. It's the overall canopy. As far as conservable canopy on that site, the quality of what's out there is succession growth. It really, there are a handful of old growth trees that ideally would be kept. The challenge is they're in a location that is suitable for the infrastructure and for the building of the structures themselves. So when you have density like this, you lose the existing canopy sometimes, but we work really hard to get good species selection and good placement so that we have successful growth over the long term as part of the development.
Yeah, and haven't our species selection criteria been defined further and in more recent years? I know this from our discussion in the LRC.
Yeah, we've had a tree ordinance now in place for 21 years with a tree species list that identifies trees that can succeed in certain environments, and it's worked. So we work off of that guidance, and our designers in this community understand it and work with us on that. But there is a waiver requested here that is for overall canopy, but it is not for those specific locations that I think have been mentioned.
And it excludes some trees that are non-native, right? Is that true?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's all.
Commissioner Thornton.
I need to be careful about what I say, but people come up to the podium and repeat me. But I do agree that ADUs are a new phenomenon that I can appreciate now. Couple of things. Back to the trees. And keeping that culture of on the east side, and I agree with Commissioner Davenport. What options does the developer and the community, you probably just explained it to me, but help me understand, what are the options for the tree canopy? What are the options that would satisfy this gentleman and that community? And whatever the options are, were they presented to the developer or the community?
So staff has had discussion with the designers and the developer about the tree question, the waiver that's been requested. We've had a qualitative review working with our forester and our arborist. And if this were to be approved, we're prepared to work with them through plans review to get the street trees and the parking lot trees that are required by code. We may not, in fact, they're asking for the waiver to not reach the overall canopy. So what does that mean? From the outside looking in, you will see trees. You'll see newly planted trees. Those trees will be placed properly so they have a chance to succeed. With rare exception, the trees that are out there now would be removed as part of the grading and the development of the site.
Okay. And I guess my other question is, and I think Commissioner Taylor brought it up, was one thing that is kind of nagging at me. This plan is based on the future land use that we're into now, that we're working on. This is not is this development the information we're gathering for the current land use?
I know what you mean. So this development is anticipating some of the things that have been talked about over the last 2 years.
And why we not address the traffic issues on that side? Is that because of GDOT or TPW? Why is the traffic so congested all the time on that side of town? Is that, I think you did the traffic study. So the traffic study showed that there was no issue?
The traffic study that was prepared by the applicant
Yes.
was reviewed by
Yes.
Transportation and Public Works. And Transportation Public Works staff found that the increase in trip traffic at those intersections did not warrant a signal or additional improvements. As to the overall condition and the grading of that roadway and its current traffic flow and volumes, I can't really speak to that. I know there's considerable interest in revisiting that. But as far as the warrant study and the traffic impact analysis for this development, the finding was that there was no change needed given what was being proposed.
You know, it's unfortunate that each of the residents that have spoken about how good this project is, their main concern is trees and traffic. And I don't, you know, we're smarter than the third grader. We should be able to figure out trees and traffic. And I want to support this project, but I do not want people to feel like they're displaced because of trees or traffic. I don't know what else is on the table. Usually, Bruce, when you and I talk, I got to dig until I get where I need to go. So what are our options for both of those things to make this happen? And if you don't know now, maybe, well, we got to vote tonight, but what do we need to do for those two things?
With regard to traffic, I don't know what we can do on the floor of this meeting tonight. With regard to trees, all I can speak to is we do have standards in place for making sure the trees that are planted are done properly and they have a chance to succeed.
But but we have to vote to pass it to even do that then, right?
You would, a vote in favor of this development would mean we're then working with the developer to get the trees in as part of the development.
Okay,
Denial of this, there's no action that we take.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And we don't know still about traffic, even though we're having accidents on there, like we're having on that side of town. That's not your wheelbarrow.
Of course, among the things that we do have underway are intersection analyses. We've got about $15 million in the last TSPLOST to do improvements of that sort. So
And
you
that's
might
where I'm
remember
trying to
the
get to,
Hawthorne
Kelly.
Oglethorpe intersection is sort of like the first one of those that we're going to be addressing.
And that's where I'm trying to get to. We got T-Splosh, it's still got to come before all of us. And if there is something like traffic, that we should have the capability as the commissioners to say, we want to make sure traffic is taken care of the upcoming T-Splosh. That's what I'm looking for. Where can we get the influence to address, all right, you already explained trees, but I would like to say, we got T-Splosh, even if a proposal wasn't written, when it comes before us, we will say, remember on Gaines School, we needed to do something. Do we have that power, Kelly, to do?
I'll observe, it's an inherent challenge of an individual parcel zoning that you don't really have the opportunity to use this kind of action to take care of a systemic need like corridor safety. Now, we do have other tools that we use in this room, and of course, allocation of our T-Splosh program broadly, and decisions that, we're going to prioritize the kind of roadways that are safer. You might remember just over the last several years, we've put a lot of pedestrian crossings in, we've put sidewalks in places that didn't prior have sidewalks, and then we've done those intersection improvements like the Hawthorne Oglethorpe one. So while I have always felt like in the ideal environment, we're able to do all things at the same time, the reality in this local government work is that they're sequenced. They don't come out of the ground at the same time.
I'm going to support this tonight with the understanding that we're working with local developers and architect folk. Y'all know where they live at, or if you don't, I'll give you the address. That will follow this project. Don't let it just go up, You heard the mayor say some things we can do. These folk are homeboys. They're not somebody in Timbuktu that you can't reach. I'm going to support this because it's housing, but your concerns need to be addressed. Do not let this vote, whatever way it go, take them off the hook for what you want your community to look like.
Unless there's anybody new, I'll circle back. Of Commissioner Davenport, Taylor, and then Myers.
Okay, so, ooh, boy, we'll do a Hail Mary here. So if you if you do a Google map and look at the surrounding area, this is a very dense project based on what's on the surrounding area. If we look at nodes, Lexington Road and Gaines School Road is considered a commercial node. You have the Willowwood Shopping Center, you have the Gaines School Shopping Center. Then another node would be the Cedar Shoals Drive and the Gaines School Road, Barney Shoals Road node, where you got Assenboro, then you have the Aldis. This project is in the slap dab middle of Gaines School Road, where there's nothing but residents. You got a little light commercial, like dentist offices on the opposite end. It makes no sense. Second of all, when it comes to trees, every single tree, the big oaks, the magnolias, all the stupid privet will be torn down, and that whole project, the whole property will be just cleared off to build this development. Then new trees will be built. That's what I mean by a gap. There's no way that no tree that's there now, because I've seen that property, is going to remain. It doesn't make sense for the area. And I'm literally going to JW York, and I'm going to say, hey, in 5 Points and in the Boulevard area, I want you to rezone that area to see how these commissioners, how y'all think that feels. That's all because all I'm trying to do is just protect the sovereignty, the aesthetics of the East Side. This project is not it. By right, by right, that the applicant can build something suitable, sensible, keep the trees, no worries with stormwater, something that the resident will not argue with or fight about. This is not an appropriate rezone for this area. It's too much density. There's still questions about stormwater. You take away my trees. It's not even a node. It's in a slap down middle of nowhere. It doesn't even match the surrounding area. Just looking from a map, looking down, it doesn't make sense. Like, I would not approve something in your district similar to this, so why would you do it near mine?
Commissioner Taylor, Commissioner Myers.
Yeah, we're discussing trees, and this development has the potential, and no shade to the developers, no shade to y'all whatsoever, but they're just like Commissioner Davenport said, it is just too congested there. These townhouses has the potential to displace a lot of people behind the said proposals, and it is not the developer's responsibility. We keep saying it's not their fault, they didn't hit those people. No, they didn't. And no, it's not their fault that the residents behind them are gonna be displaced. It is this body's. Because they come before us and ask us for rezones, they ask us for variances, and we say yes. So it's on us. And a lot of us think that it's okay to put these here because we need the housing. But if you rode the corridor, you would see that there is plenty housing in that area. Not only that, but just like Commissioner Davenport said, it's so good to say what goes on in somebody else's district because you don't have to sit in traffic to get your child from elementary school. You don't have to wait for someone to cross the street. You don't have to deal with the congestion of Lexington Road, Gaines School Road, Byrne Shows Road, and Whit Davis. All of those roads are congested, and it is not the developer's fault. It is not. It is this body because we continue to approve developments because they look cute on paper, and we don't know how they're going to come out in reality. And also because a lot of us don't get the phone calls from residents who are being displaced because of the development that we approve because it looked good on paper, but in reality we are contributing to the homeless population in Athens-Clarke County because we continue to approve developments that are expensive, that our residents cannot afford, and they put us in these seats. And whether I get my seat again or not, I know I sit on the right side of Athens-Clarke County and the residents that put me in this seat to fight for developments, and again, no shade book, like this. And also, Bruce, how long was that traffic study did? Like, how many days?
1 day, 16 hours.
Oh.
I don't know. Director Lonnie. No.
I'm not aware.
Okay. Commissioner Myers.
Well, I was going to mention the traffic, but I don't want to talk about the traffic right now too much. But I think but I do want to mention something because we did have those 2 deaths over there, and I think we need to look at. We have a crosswalk policy, and in fact, that crosswalk where we lost those two people lost their lives, really does not fit our present crosswalk policy. It would be upgraded to the, what do you call those, hawk ones, according to the chart that I looked at. So I think we need to make sure that we're putting the right infrastructure in the right places for that. This is, in terms of the traffic and the crossing, it is dangerous. I know it because I'm on that corridor all the time driving, but being in cars and walking across roads is dangerous. I only say that chuckling to myself because from the entrance there, it's about 0.3 miles to that cross the traffic light at Cedar Creek Road, right? Yesterday, I walked over to the new Kroger's, and if I come right out of the new Kroger's and go right up to the sidewalk, I can go across the street and be at my house a lot more quickly than if I walk the much less than the 200 feet down to that light and make a whole thing around there. And, you know, someone's going to catch me sometime when I do that, because we're all tempted to do that when the road is empty. You know, I go up there. So that is something that's, anytime you have, you know, I had that growing up. I lived close to 2 blocks away from intersections. You walk up to the lights sometimes, and people, you know, hopefully the police department will be out there more trying to get me now when I do jaywalk. So I think we're going to have that kind of tension anywhere where there's development close to a road, a corridor that has businesses and shops where people want to go, because we all like going the direct route rather than walking, whether it's 1/3 of a mile or 1/10 of a mile to get to a light. So I just wanted to address that. And yes, I mean, one of the things is this traffic all around town. You know, I talk about the west side. I don't really want to go over the west side because there's a lot of traffic over there. And coming in College Station in the morning, when I would go there all the time to work, I would have to get onto the bypass, I'd have to add on in the beginning of the year a good 10 to 15 minutes to get on to the traffic there, and I just had to build that in my head because I had to be at work at 8 o'clock or 8:15. We're not going to build the roads so that there's no traffic during the rush hours when we're going to school or getting to our jobs. So I just wanted to bring that up, add that to the layer of this discussion here. But I do want us to look at that crosswalk policy and apply it correctly.
Commissioner Fisher.
You know, we had a lot of discussion tonight about that project, and, you know, one thing that comes to mind, you know, we're building a lot of development in this community. I know Commissioner Johnson mentioned she's got about 3 or 4 developments coming up. I got about 4 or 5 in District 5, so we're doing all this development. I think, and to my colleagues, Commissioner Taylor and Davenport, somewhere along the line, we're gonna need to make a decision as commissioners, you know, where do we want housing, because we know we need housing. And we know we need to put it in the right place, but, you know, what's the right place? And I guess that, you know, that's sometimes a tough decision for us to make, because they live in that area. I have to respect their concerns and sort of support where they're going. And so, you know, with that said, though, as we move forward with the development, we need to understand, or try to understand, you know, what do we need to do as a community and as a body where we want housing at, you know. Housing don't fit in different communities, and I understand that. But we got to figure out what type of housing, you know, we need, affordable, Miller Road, missing Miller, all those things. We got to figure that out. So I do want to ask the question, what's the price point on that particular development? Mr.
York.
Bacon, what would those units cost?
Forgive me if I'm off a little bit because I don't have the pro forma for that in front of me from what I said to this body the last time, but my memory is that the smaller townhome units, the 1,600 or 1,700 square foot ones, were going to be in the 330s, and the next step up, which was the larger townhome, was going to be in the 360s, and then the ones with the ADUs were going to be like 400 or 410. Okay. And again, I apologize if I didn't have the exact numbers in front of me, but that should be pretty darn close.
And I want to finish on one more point. And one thing I always look at, you know, when developers look at building stuff, I always ask the question, well, who's going to be buying those houses? You know, where is the people going to come from with all the development that we're doing? Who's buying those homes? You know, we're talking about economic development, industry. I'm trying to figure out what I'm missing. Because, again, we got a lot of projects that's on the books that's supposed to be built in the next 3 to 5 years. So I guess my question, who's buying those homes? You know, so I don't know. I mean, maybe somebody can tell me, you know, if there's some type of study that we have done as a community and say, okay, we know we're going to need X number. I'm not talking about the 8,800 for a $4. I'm talking about the $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 houses that we're building. Who's buying those, and where are those people coming from? Because what I don't want to see happen, we build a subdivision and houses sit vacant. So,
At least, Commissioner, part of it is kind of recognition of the job growth that's come and is yet to come. Which we have about 1,700 jobs that are going to be at Meisner. Those are going to be mid-range to upper jobs. We know that the proportion at the university tends to be about one faculty or staff person for 4 students. The university has explicitly said we intend to grow by about 600 students a year over the next 5 years, so you can do the math on that. And we know that the amenities that come with those, like hospital jobs, are a big piece of the puzzle too.
Yeah, I hear you, but my point is, excluding the students, my thing is, and I get with the with Meisner coming, and there may be some other industries that may be coming to town in the future that's going to pay great wages. I get that, but again, though, we're looking at all the development that we're doing in this community, and we're looking at the price points. Again, who are those people who are going to be buying those houses? That's all I'm asking. And maybe somewhere down the road we'll do some type of study or survey and say, okay, these are the type of houses that we're going to need for this particular population, because, you know, the price point is $325, $370, $380, $400. Who's going to be buying those homes? So that's what I'm asking, you know.
Got Commissioner Davenport, Commissioner Thornton.
Okay. Just following the rules is my third speak, so I can't speak anymore. Okay. First of all, we keep talking about the additional growth that's coming to Athens, but what about the people who already live here? What about the people we pushed out? Think about all the people who had homes, but the property and the values of the property they can't no longer afford, so they moved to our surrounding county. Think about all those individuals. I'm all for the growth, but let's consider the fact that there are people here who want to stay in their homes. The people who's having an extra baby, who is, you know, bringing their mother in, who need extra housing. And even though the price point may start at $325, that's a novel starting point. But those prices may be even higher after when they're actually completed, based on construction costs. We don't know how much they're going to pay for, the wood they use and how much they're going to build. But we oftentimes think about the people who are moving here. That's great, because Athens is growing. What about the people who are here? What about the people who live in these duplexes here who wanting to upsize, who want to get something nicer? $300,000, that's novel, that's great, but I don't know anybody who can afford it. But I am not against development for this property. I'm 100% not. I'm against just this density and the type of housing that's going to be they're presenting here. A developer can build on this lot. I don't know why every time a developer comes to us, we have to rezone. We got to do it because we need housing. We got to do it. Build by right. Build all the housing you want. You don't have to come through us. They're coming through us because they want to do a rezone. They want it, call a spade, but hey, they're making a lot of money. They're probably, potentially, off of this project. And all I'm just saying is, respect the east side, let us have our little peace and tranquility. Build by right, build something sensible, call it a day.
Commissioner Thornton.
Right before your very eyes, you see magic, because I've just changed my mind again. In my district, we have about 2 or 3 developments, and all of them are built by right. It's nothing I can do about it. But I almost broke my own rule, and that is I support the residents that speak up and out. I also support the commissioner whose district that is in. You're right, I don't live on that side of town. I go over there very seldom, unless I go to the shoe store or something. But I totally agree that the commissioners in each of these districts should know what is best for their district. And I will support Commissioner Taylor and Commissioner Davenport, because I would only want the best for my constituents. And I'm not even running in your district.
Commissioner Culpepper.
So this is going to be 79 units, is that right? So by right, how many units could they put in there? 69. And by right, how many units, how many could go in there?
Yeah.
With the way it's currently zoned?
I don't have that number off the top of my head. The CO would allow for 16 bedrooms to the acre on that front, 20%. and then the back would be RS15, which is 2 units per acre. So it's a considerably lower number.
About half?
Less. Once you put in a public street, if you're going to do that, yeah, it's probably less than half.
And I respect the commissioners whose district it's in. But one thing that we do need to think about and take into consideration, so I was looking at what the land is valued at, and just say it's valued at $1 million. You're dividing that by 69, if you're putting 69 units on there. If you are only putting 30, it's going to increase your cost. So you're going to run into an affordable housing issue, a bigger one than you are with what's going in there now. Now, that's something that, big picture, that we need to think about. I respect y'all's opinion, and I understand that, but we do need to think about when we're limiting the amount of units that are going on a piece of property because we want affordable housing. In reality, what we're doing is we're increasing the cost of the houses that are going to be there because there's less units.
When is $300,000
I've got Commissioner Link, and then we'll, and then we'll have one more from Commissioner Myers. And
So knowing that we're seeing this growth, we're seeing people come into town, and we're seeing the pressure that's happening already on our existing workforce and affordable neighborhoods. And what we're seeing is the people that can afford a $350,000, $400,000 home are buying the lower priced, maybe slightly rundown homes and investing in them and knocking them out into much larger, much more expensive homes. Those are the folks that are pushing folks out. I believe that by allowing this kind of middle-class housing, we're allowing people in those existing workforce neighborhoods to stay put and not be pressured to be pushed out. The student population is a whole nother thing that's working on that. But if we at least allow this new housing for that incoming middle-class workforce, maybe we can at least keep some of these existing working-class citizens in their homes without the pressure to be pushed out as those properties are redeveloped and flipped.
Commissioner Myers?
I just want to give us a reality check here. One of my constituents who lives on Gaines School Road, but just up from this, and not, so it's in my district and not Commissioner Taylor's or Davenport's. But she lives in Georgetown in condos there, built in 1969. There's one for sale right now. It's $279,000, and those go. So the condos that are there and over in Stafford are going from $250,000 to $350,000. Ones that were built, as I just said, that was I can't believe that's 69, but that was built, in 1969. That's over 50 years old. So we're talking, I just putting that out there for what's out there on the market. Whether or not that's the right thing, that's just information I'm just sharing for us all.
All right, motion on the floor is for the future land use modification, and we'll begin with the motioner, Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Fisher?
No.
Johnson?
No.
Culpepper?
No.
Myers?
Yes.
Thornton?
No.
Handy?
No.
Davenport?
No.
Link?
Yes.
Taylor?
No.
3 yes and 7 no.
All right, we'll move to a motion on the zoning.
Deny.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion from Commissioner Davenport, second from Commissioner Taylor. All right, any further discussion? All right, we'll move to a vote beginning with Commissioner Davenport.
Davenport?
Yes.
Link?
No.
Taylor?
Yes.
Bright?
No.
Fisher?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Culpepper?
Yes.
Myers?
No.
Thornton?
Yes.
Handy?
Yes.
7 yes, 3 no.
All right, motion carries. All right, moving on to item number 22. I think there's an interest in holding this because the school board hasn't taken final action.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion that we hold this. School board is meeting on Thursday to vote on that particular item. So make a motion to put this on hold.
I'll second.
Motion to hold from Commissioner Fisher, second from Commissioner Wright. Any further input?
Can I ask
Commissioner
a
Colbert?
question?
Yeah.
So, is this outside of our budget, or why wouldn't this be something that we approve in our budget?
It's a contract time, right?
So I think this is just the annual cycle for this particular intergovernmental agreement. And I can't remember, Manager Griffin,
what I'm
if we
looking.
already have this embedded in our budget or not, which may be the case. but-
Existing,
yeah.
the one that's been proposed.
Yeah,
It's just a renewal. I think we've been doing it for about 30 years. Yeah. Looks like.
It's in the budget.
so I think this is embedded in the budget already. Question from Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you. I raised the question about the contract at the last meeting, the agenda setting meeting, and asked several questions during the meeting and followed up the next day with an email asking questions related to this agenda. And I just want to start by saying that we received responses to some answers, but the agenda item did not change. I'm considerably disappointed, and I just want to provide some context. And I'm going to use my time to read communication that I've collected, I've shared, and I've exchanged. So the answers that we received did not address anything specific. One of the things that they mentioned over and over, the department that is reimbursement is possible. They kept the numbers the same. This document does not indicate that there is a good faith effort to seek true reimbursement of costs. And as I've mentioned in my email exchange with the department, or not with the department, but with our manager's office, essentially our community residents are double taxed because they pay our sales tax and then they pay lost. This is something that doesn't seem to be high on the radar. And I will get to my comments. I just jotted them down just to be quick here. So one of the things, I'm going to start from the very beginning, and it's not that long, so if you would just give me a little grace. So the total that is included on this agenda packet is $460,000. $350,000 was supposed to be the apportionment for the Clarke County School District, and $100,000 from Athens-Clarke County Unified Government. One of the comments in their own contract states that the school district will cover salaries, benefits, uniforms, relevant equipment, and supervision for a sergeant for 20% of his salary. Now, I just want to do the quick, easy number. There are 178 school days. Out of a possible 221 could work in an annual year if they did not take vacation. That division is 68% of the year. So that is the premise in which I evaluated the rest of the numbers. When I first sent my email asking what I thought were responsible questions that other people asked also, the original response I received was...
Everybody okay with additional time for Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. The information, the response that I received back was, I thought it does not seem appropriate to include, as these are operational roles that lie under the direct responsibility of the manager's office. So I'm asking for anyone, to provide an accurate agenda report. And the response I received is some of the questions that you asked, Commissioner Johnson, seem to fall under the purview of the manager's office and are operational. Well, I was aware that my questions fell under the operational oversight of the manager's office when I asked them. And let's be really clear, my intent is not to manage the manager's office, any staff, any department directors. That's not what it was. I'm trying to make well-informed decisions in the best interest of our residents. The answers will be included in the overall packet. They weren't. What we received, what I see in here is that the document didn't change, the numbers did not change, but there are a lot of references to, if there's a need to seek reimbursement, we will. I don't know what's going on. I have no idea. But I will say this, what I have experienced in my short 4 months on the commission is that there is an unhealthy culture that exists within Athens-Clarke County amongst some leaders, not all leaders. There are some directors in our government that are part of this culture where they think what they want is the way to go. They ignore commissioner questions, and some have arrogantly expressed to us, some of us, that we don't need to know the answer to the questions that we ask, even though we are the ones that are responsible for voting. My operational questions are relevant, and they speak to the broader discussion about fiscal accountability. These details help clarify whether the unified government is being accurately reimbursed. I'm not sure why it's not a concern for the police department. The school district does not have a funding challenge like we do. Our fund balance is decreasing, and I raised that point. I wanted to ensure that the supervisor, it states in the contract that the school district provides, that the supervisor would provide oversight on a daily basis. Well, it's a contradiction. It doesn't say that in the police report. I mean, in the police documentation. It's correct, and I want it to be accurate because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. We've already learned that the real-time, help me you all with the, thank you. We know that's been underfunded, so thank you. This is not me trying to do any.
The motion on the table is to hold this, am I right?
Yes,
in that manner?
that is correct.
Correct. Can we just go ahead and vote on that and get some questions answered? I don't.
We did not get to
From a
speak.
procedure standpoint, Mayor, we should have voted first and then questions.
Well, no,
Well-
we should have spoken first.
We-
The motion, the second.
We provided another segment of time for Commissioner Johnson, so
Well,
we'll,
let's vote on this. This is not the issue to be talking about director and commissioner interactions. So
Point of
I'm
Point of order.
call the question.
I don't know what's
Commissioner Johnson,
happening right now. I thought I had the ability to speak,
I'm gonna
but
go
if you
ahead and
don't
just
want me to
give
speak,
Commissioner
I'll be
Johnson
quiet.
Speak to the issue.
the
I
the
am
remaining
speaking to
30
the issue.
seconds to the substance of the
The
agenda
issue is to
report.
hold this or not hold it.
Well, I need to provide clarification because if it's going to be held and we get the exact same thing, we're going to continue holding it down the road because we're not getting the details that we need to make a well-informed decision. That's the only point that I was making.
We're trying to-
If I'm a little bit verbose, charge me for that. But I think at the end of the day, no one read it and saw that since 1996, these numbers haven't changed.
So would anyone else like to speak to questions that they might have that they want to see resolved before we vote next
Well,
month?
we didn't get to speak as the motion and the seconder that could help this whole.
Yeah, so go ahead, turn to Commissioner
So
Fisher.
the motion on the floor is to hold. The Clarke County School District will be voting on this particular matter on Thursday. If they vote to absorb all of the funding, then our questions are pretty much mute. That goes away because we don't have the financial responsibility. So I think, in all due respect to my colleague, Commissioner Johnson, I think once we do the whole and find out what CCSD is gonna do. Now, if they don't say we still need to pay our portion, then I think that's when we have that conversation.
Thank you so much for the clarification. If I can
Let me
please
turn to
get a
Commissioner Wright.
policy and rules procedures thing, I'd appreciate it.
Commissioner Wright, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up and support, because at the agenda setting, we thought it was going to be voted on, but it didn't. So this is pacing us back in line with the school district and communications that you'd had with the superintendent. And I just wanted to reiterate, the reason that we cover a portion of the safety resource officers is because they work in the entire community when the school's out. They work, these are our police officers who are working other assignments when they're not assigned to the schools when the schools are closed. So that's where our community part of this arrangement lies with that. So, but the motion on the floor, if we had gotten to explain that, that might have been helpful to why we are asking for the hold.
Any other questions anyone wants to see resolved before next month? Commissioner Myers?
Yeah, I just want to clarify, you're saying that the the school board is voting on this on May 8th?
Yes.
Okay, so there should be something on the agenda there, in there, so if you
They
could share.
couldn't be adding it, they could also be adding it.
Okay, so if you could share that link so we could read those materials as well, that would be helpful when someone has them, I would appreciate that.
Their prior intent was to vote for it last month, but they moved it to this month.
Right, I'm just looking here, and I just would like to see what, the data as well.
All right, there's a motion and a second to hold. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, item number 23 is the intersection at Boulevard and Nacoochee where there's a proposed all-way yield.
Yeah, Mike, you can leave now, because I'm going to put this on hold.
Vote on College Square.
Yeah, I want to thank staff, because a whole bunch of staff came out and met with me and some of the residents who live directly adjacent to this intersection, as well as a handful of representatives of the neighborhood association. This is, clearly a difficult intersection. It's not standard in any way, shape, or form. We also have a stop sign that is hidden by a telephone pole, which creates a lot of the problem with people treating it as a roundabout rather than a traffic circle. Staff gave us a menu of choices or applications that we can consider in tweaking this plan that they brought forward. And so I'm going to meet with those residents again in the next week and a half or so, and hopefully bring forward a CDO that still, meets the standards that staff requires, but, helps the residents feel a little bit better about this intersection, and make sure there's a safe crossing across Boulevard, and that traffic is encouraged to slow as it approaches the intersection.
Got a motion to hold.
I'm going to second that.
All right, I've got a second from Commissioner Thornton. All right, Commissioner
'Cause I
Thornton,
want to
any
speak.
remarks?
I appreciate Commissioner Link holding this, because I had questions. And actually, I drove down there Boulevard today. And I was a little bit amused when I read the history, and it said the police department made the recommendation to TPW, and then you signed off on it. And that, I didn't know that is what the police officers do, but it's in our written history. And so that's one thing, and if that's how it works, I want the police to come drive in my district and make some recommendations, if this is how that works. You have, Boulevard has 9 speed humps. You have, I wrote it all down. You have 9 speed humps. You have the cross light at Chase and Boulevard. You have the roundabout, and where they're talking about putting the stop sign, that's where the roundabout is at. And there's already a stop sign there. So I don't know how this, we need to know what the process is, because you do not know how much I learned from you, Melissa, accidentally, because
That's the problem.
because you say things and then it makes me go and look, and I realize that that's not what I'm getting in my district. So I would love for us to talk and figure out what is the process. I just need to know the process. If you tell me the rules of the game, I can follow it. But I was really shocked to see that Athens-Clarke County made the recommendation in our history to TPW.
So I can probably speak to that, because it's a school route. So what you're seeing
Fowler Drive is
are
right up the
dozens
street.
and dozens of kids walking down Nacoochee, crossing Boulevard to go to Chase Street down Nacoochee. They go in the back way. You have a stop sign at Nacoochee where traffic's coming off Prince Avenue, cut-through traffic, not necessarily neighborhood traffic. In the years since roundabouts have become a pretty normal thing in Athens, people know not to stop at a roundabout and to keep going. So people see that traffic circle and they see the signage in the middle of it with the circle with a bunch of arrows. They don't see the stop sign at the corner because it's hidden behind a telephone pole. And so they've just been scooching right into the traffic circle thinking it's a roundabout. I believe there have been some crashes, there have been some near misses, there have been quite a few pedestrian near misses. There's no crosswalk anywhere on the intersection, so people don't know where to cross, and drivers don't know where to look for pedestrians. So that's been the real concern, is these children. I mean, my number one concern is making sure that these children have a safe place to cross. I feel like, parents of a fifth grader should feel comfortable sending their kid to walk 3 blocks to school, and they don't right now. I live a block and a half from that intersection. And, I had sent work orders in for years about that intersection and the Hiawassee intersection because you had plenty of pedestrian near misses. And I presume that ACCPD responded to some crashes there, here and there. And that's what kind of got the intersection reevaluated. It doesn't meet standards for an all-way stop. I mean, what the neighborhood really would prefer is an all-way stop at that roundabout. Staff said, put their foot down and said, no, it doesn't meet those standards. Instead, are basically laying over a standard roundabout treatment to what is really a traffic circle between 2 neighborhood streets, not a roundabout between 2 major corridors. So that's why we're going to meet and try and come up with some middle ground that treats this non-standard intersection, still continues to treat it as a neighborhood street, maybe tones down some of the hyper engineering a little bit, because a crossing of 2 neighborhood streets doesn't necessarily need all that extra concrete. I'm hoping we can come up with something that's a little bit cheaper than the $21,000.
I have no problem in everything you said. I agree. I'm just saying, Fowler Drive Elementary is right on the corner. I had to beg for a 4-way stop and blinking light because we allegedly did not meet the criteria. So my point is, this is my only point, is you have more safety, common stuff in your district, at least on Boulevard, than anybody's did, even 5 Points. I just want to know what the process is. Does the police department have more influence with TPW? I mean, I just don't know. But I know the kids on Fowler Drive and Freeman Drive and Monty Drive are just as precious as the kids on Boulevard and Hiawassee and all those. I just want to know the process. I want everything you have.
And Commissioner Thornton, I think TPW would be really glad to sit down. One of the oddities about this corridor is that you've got 2 now defunct programs that were laid upon one another.
Okay.
And of course, we've got a contemporary one. But they can walk you through that. We've got,
I'll get you some more information. We'll talk.
Thank you.
We've got Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Davenport.
Thank you so much. I also am curious, the process of the police's role in this. Was there a multitude of accidents, deaths, crashes, and at what point did the police initiate, and how did that process work? I want to know how that happened too. It's something that, if that's what it is, I need to understand so I can implement it as well. Also, to support the comment that Commissioner Thornton made about the speed humps on Boulevard. I mean, not only are there speed humps, there are 8 speed humps, but then there are extra tall speed humps. And I recall having a conversation with Assistant Manager Andrew Saunders last month about two areas in District 6. One is Saxon Woods. They chose to put speed humps after many years of asking and requesting on one road. It creates a racetrack on the other road. No one knows why one road or the other. It's not communicated well. Whatever, and I also agree. If you could create a template, Melissa, a step 1, step 2, step 3, how you have been so successful in getting these things accomplished in your district. We need the same things in Stonehenge. And I'm not saying that you're all by yourself doing it. I'm just saying that there's a big support for this, and there are so many things that protect the residents, the bikers, and other communities need the same thing. I was just told with Stonehenge, it's not set in stone if they're going to get the speed humps, but they need them. They've only put them on one road. They're not even the same size, but they're temporary, and they were just doing it as a pilot, but they're not even sure if they're going to become permanent. But even with the pilot, they've created a racetrack on Sartain Drive and another street. And so neighbors, when they want speed humps, they want it in the areas that will slow down traffic in the entire neighborhood. Thank you.
And what might be helpful, Manager Griffin, is just to send out to the body kind of what the neighborhood traffic well, it's now under a new name, but the former neighborhood traffic management program is like. Commissioner Davenport?
Yes, and this is to Commissioner Lincoln's staff. So it seemed like that roundabout, is it possible to get rid of that roundabout, just put the four-way stop?
That would cost a heck of a lot of money.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing, like, keeping this low cost is to keep the roundabout, because it would cost many times over $21,000 to rip that up and repave. And, you know, plenty of people kind of fall in love with the roundabout. It does bring character to the neighborhood. You know, we believe we can work with the kind of menu that staff has given us to tweak that proposal to something that the neighborhood can feel comfortable with. You know, and the problem is mostly on the downhill side, that cars are going faster. On the uphill side, they've just gone through a four-way stop and they're going uphill, so it's not as much of a problem. There's just, it's the.
Let me go ahead and have Attorney Drake read the ordinance for
Yeah,
us.
go ahead.
An ordinance with respect to establishment of an all-way yield at the intersection of Boulevard and Oconee Avenue and for the purposes.
All right, the motion on the floor is to hold. Is there any further input?
Just really quick further input.
Commissioner Myers?
It's just that we did have this, I just want to make it clear, because we got people listening, we got that new residential traffic management program that the LRC worked on about a year ago for quite a long time, so that's a new policy. However, it needs to be clear to everyone that that's a new policy that went into effect based on data and like an analysis of speeds and everything else, but that just went into effect in 2024 or 23. Previous to that, there was, you know, there's a whole lot of speed bumps in one neighborhood I lived in now, where the one I lived in that's very close doesn't have any speed bumps in. There's a different process. And that's not what we're doing. We tried to rectify that situation by making a process that's based on data, the speed, the number of people living there, and lots of other criteria. So I just want that out there for the public to be aware of as we're moving forward here. Most of the speed bumps existed under the previous policy.
We get it.
All in favor of the hold, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, moving on to item 24, I'd entertain a motion for approval of the proposed preliminary plan for the College Square pedestrian
moved.
plaza.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion from
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Hamby.
Commissioner Wright wanted to make the motion.
And-
Oh, well, I'll take my.
no, that's fine.
all
We'll
right.
just move it
Go,
along.
Go.
You don't need the
No,
It's,
I don't need, I was just trying to help him out.
I'm totally kidding. Go for it.
Friends, it's group work, your name will be on it. Any remarks?
I think the folks that are working on this project have done a really outstanding job. I know they've addressed stormwater issues that have come up at the last minute, so I know they've had discussions with folks concerned with that. So I'm looking forward to this project and looking forward to how it's going to improve downtown and make that thing, make College Avenue look better. I think it'll probably be done by the time we get done with this meeting, but. So, I'm sorry, I got to quit being, the snark is coming out.
Commissioner Thornton, you were the seconder, any follow-up?
I have nothing to say.
Commissioner Link?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up the stormwater concerns that Mr. Geary brought up. I'm hoping that the designers can get with UON and talk a little about some of the stormwater treatments that are coming off all that pavement. So I trust these guys will handle that. Thank you.
Just one quick question?
Yes.
So this is just the design, when is like the groundbreaking and all that fun stuff?
When will be the?
schedule's on
ETA?
page 675.
675.
Facts and issues, they've given you a proposed timeline, the completion of construction tentatively next summer.
Okay, thank you.
So it's going to be a big mess over the winter. We'll handle
That
it.
would be the assumption.
Okay.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, 25 is disposal of unusable property adjacent to 551 Athens Avenue. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Second.
All right, got a motion from Commissioner Thornton, second from Commissioner Hamby. Commissioner Thornton, anything?
No, this has been, Andrew's not here. Andrew worked really hard with the resident and I, and Mayor, I don't even know if you remember this parcel of land, but that's been almost a year now, it seems, to get it going. And it's, so I'm glad we got it done, and he did send me a text today thanking us. But this is just kind of run it over to the next item. This is one of the reasons I would like to,
Well, and we'll get to that in a minute.
okay, but all right, this is my segue. Yes, I have nothing else to say, but this is a good example of, yeah, okay. That's my, yeah, go for it. Who seconded?
Commissioner Hamby was the seconder.
I have nothing.
Anything else? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 26 is acceptance of the GOC report regarding the Land Bank Authority, and I'll turn to Commissioner Davenport for a motion.
Yes, after speaking with Commissioner Thornton, she would like to put it on hold.
All right,
For
so
30 days.
is there a motion to hold?
Mm-hmm.
All right, motion to
Second.
hold from Commissioner Davenport, second from Commissioner Thornton.
And I will give no comments since he made that so easy.
All right,
No comment?
all right, any others?
No, I wouldn't dare.
Oh, you want comments?
I have, no, I wouldn't dare.
No, don't do that, don't do
Yeah,
that.
I'm gonna vote against the whole. I think we put in the work on GOC to get this land bank. The land bank, just for the public to know, this land bank authority was created back in 2009. It was reaffirmed back in 2016. So the only thing we're doing is bringing back the land bank authority to make it active again. So I don't think we need a 30-day hold. I think, we did our due diligence. HCD was involved. We reached out to other communities, talked with them about their land banks. The advantage that we got here, what I like, we don't have a whole lot of blighted community properties in this particular town. However, there are parcels that we could possibly buy, and when we talk about affordable housing, that we could possibly buy and build affordable housing on. So for me, I'm going to vote no against a 30-day hold.
I'll make a motion to approve.
You want to make a motion? You're making a motion?
I'm making a motion to
accept the report.
to accept the report.
I'll second.
All right, so substitute motion to accept the report from Commissioner Fisher, second from Commissioner Link. Commissioner Link, anything on this?
Yeah, I mean, this is just a report, like, moving forward in the actual organization of it is a whole nother issue. Like, this is just the report. So, yeah, there's more to come on how this new land bank will function, and there'll be more opportunity for input on that.
Commissioner Thornton?
This is not one I'm going to fall on the sword about, because I've spoken to Commissioner Fisher and Commissioner Davenport about this. There were questions that and I don't want to try to answer them tonight, about the $275,000. Commissioner Fisher gave me his take on that. I think he also had talked to the attorney that the resolution is just to reinstate or start up the ordinance that died. I would love to see why it died before. According to Commissioner Fisher, this was stuff that was discussed in your GOC meetings. Everybody doesn't have time to sit and watch those videos or be present. I just would like to see, for me, we have gone down this path before with resolutions, plans, and 90% of them didn't work out. I do not see what 30 days, if it took the committee from August until now, almost a year, to give us wording just to reinstate an ordinance that is not very clear, I don't see what 30 days make a difference. If you're that, I think, and the other thing, I would like to make this so public that people will see what we're recommending. You worked on it for almost 9 months, and it's kind of heartless for me to ask for 30 days, just for clarity. What are you going to lose in 30 days? When you say that you worked so hard on it, I want to work as hard as you do. I want to know what you know before I put something in action. And 30 days is not going to, now when I come back, I may not know nothing, I may not have nothing to offer, but I promise you, I'm going to look at this much deeper than I did in these last 2 days. So.
Commissioner Johnson?
Okay, so I am going to speak, and I am going to go as long as I can without being interrupted. I did pull all of the agendas for the discussion for the Land Bank Authority, and I found that the meeting minutes were repetitive and they did not clarify what you talked about. It was just very generic. So then I watched the videos. And so I just wanted to point out some things that were of concern to me. The Land Bank Authority is the purpose of it is, as you all stated, is to identify areas that are blighted that can be reimagined to a property that can be sold and tax revenue can be generated. And that's the benefit. It's interesting that the discussion that was that occurred during the meeting was very different from the meeting minutes. We shouldn't have to always find the time to watch the minutes, but to watch the meeting, but I'll just share with you some highlights. So when there was a discussion on November 18th at the meeting with the Augusta Land Bank Authority about affordable housing, and there was a guest, Sean Edwards, who stated that the revitalization blighted properties through tax abatements, partnerships, and flexible land use, for example, community gardens. That has nothing to do with affordable housing. He went on to discuss the operational model, what they operate on, like their expenses, and he went on to, and Melinda Lord, the HCD director, identified non-general fund sources and emphasized the importance of controlling how out of control student housing has been in gaining single-family homes. In December, the meeting started with, we want to tackle blight and acquire those properties while potentially moving towards affordable housing. Well, the conversation then segued over to different things like trails and parks and markets and fairs. The concern I have is there is no clear definition, and it's there, as Judd agreed last week, last meeting with me, that we don't have significant areas that qualify as blighted to actually make significant impacts in our community. It may not be the best authority for the effort that's proposed. These ideas are fine. They're just not under the umbrella of Land Bank Authority.
Commissioner Davenport?
Yeah, I'd like to withdraw my motion and motion to support approval of this agenda item.
Any other input? All right, I do want to note, having assigned this to committee a couple of years ago, the rationale was recognizing that land bank authorities are a widely used tool around the state of Georgia. The Carl Vinson Institute, just a few blocks from here, wrote a guide to kind of how they operate and how they function. And while every community may use them somewhat differently, some to acquire properties that are abandoned for parks, some to acquire properties that are abandoned for food activity. The intent here in Clarke County particularly is to recognize that while we may not have the volume of an Augusta or a Macon of properties that are air properties that can't be unwound, we do have some. And I think, as was discussed in committee, sometimes very savvy developers are able to use their heft and their ability to hire lawyers to unwind the 15 cousins that own the property in common, and I want to make sure that we're equally aggressive as a government, given the affordable housing priorities that we have in making sure that we can put these back into affordable housing. So that's the rationale for this being in front of us right now. And while it may not be used every month, it will be used. Certainly anticipate that you could probably go down Q Public and you could find easily 30 properties in this community where this would be well used. So, Commissioner Thornton.
Again, I said I wasn't going to fall on the sword on this one, but maybe I am. We do this all the time. We come up with resolutions that we forget about. We've been meeting for the last 4 years with developers, community folk. We've talked about some of the stuff that is in this recommendation. We've made those contacts. We've made those contacts. And I'm really, and I don't think the GOC chair has been to any of the housing events. I'm kind of disappointed because when it comes to housing and poor people, like Commissioner Davenport was talking about, and the people on the east side, we still treat these people who cannot find housing like they are faceless. And this resolution is faceless. There's enough information that we have gathered through our summits that we could have supplied, and that's the only thing I asked for was 30 days. So I see where we are when you can't give a commissioner 30 days, especially since they've been working on this area for the last 4 years. It's a little bit disheartening. You guys aren't talking to the developers. You are not talking to the contractors. You're not talking to community folk. But again, this is not one I'm going to die on because I know it's going to end up in the shredder like everything else that we do, or have some negative outcomes, and we'll keep on moving and keep passing resolutions that have no teeth to them, no backbone, and it's somebody mentioned that word to me before about, well, I ain't gonna say that, about being hypocritical, but I ain't going that route. You can't say resolutions 1 month on one thing and then agree resolutions are okay the next time. So, I'm through.
Commissioner Hamby hadn't
Sure,
spoken
just
yet.
real quick, since there's two of the same motions on the floor, it sounds like they're the main motion, so there's no more, I'm gonna make a substitute motion to those two main motions to hold it. I do support land bank authorities. I do support doing a land bank authority because I've seen where it's helped in other communities. I think it can help in ours. And that's why we formed the land bank authority years ago to help that happen. It didn't quite work out the way we wanted it to, just because a lot of times you have to buy the property on the courthouse steps if no one else wants to utilize it. So there's things that can be improved upon to make it stronger and more effective. So in order to help folks ask more questions and make some suggestions, I'm going to ask that, against my better wishes, putting this on hold so that we can move this meeting forward. Was that me?
That was a hint.
All right, so we had a.
I need a second, I guess.
I'll second that.
All right, we got a second from Commissioner Myers. Commissioner Myers, any remarks?
No.
So there had been a withdrawal of a previous motion, and so there's just a single motion, and so there's now a substitute motion. Commissioner Culpepper and Commissioner Johnson.
So in reading this, it's talking about designating $275,000 from the fund balance towards this. So I'd like to see how that money's going to be spent and what they're going to use it for, because I do think it's a good idea to try to figure out what we can do with some of the county-owned property to create affordable housing, because a lot of times, a developer will come to us, with something to approve, and we're like, well, why isn't there an affordable housing in there? Well, we didn't give them the tools. We're just expecting them to do that. So I think this is a good idea, so where we can show them the different options and utilize some of our property that we're not using to create affordable housing options. But, so maybe more detail about what we're gonna do with this 275,000 and how exactly it's gonna look. This is strictly for affordable housing, is that correct?
That's what the Georgia legislation states.
The intent. Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you. Commissioner Taylor and I had an opportunity to spend 8 hours with an attorney that actually consults with many of the counties, and he spoke specifically about this. The definition is the definition. It was enacted for, early on, or a long time ago, for communities to have the ability to change and revitalize those blighted areas. We don't have that many. I just want to share with you that I did do my homework and I got a list of the properties owned by Athens-Clarke County, and one by one, I did a Google search, like Google Earth, and none of the properties are blighted. All of them are actually look well maintained. Some of them are people are living in them, or not living, but working in them. We just don't know all the details, and it's just not like a 2 + 2 = 4 situation. If this is for blighted communities, renovating homes for affordable and creating affordable housing, none of that meets the definition. That's all I wanted to add. And the last thing is this comment here.
Thank you.
So there is the Land Bank Authority can help private investors return a profit to communities in areas where there's blight. This is at the November 2024 meeting. At the 10-minute mark, he goes on to say you can even use as a set-aside for green spaces, community gardens, through land bank working with arts and recreation. And that does benefit the community. I do support land banks. I do. But this is not what this is. Is there another authority that would achieve what you're trying to achieve? But it's not the Land Bank Authority, according to the Georgia State Constitution.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, just, Commissioner Hammond, you didn't say how many days.
30 days. 30
Okay,
days.
same thing with you, Commissioner Thornton, 30 days. I ain't gonna fall on the sword for this need. I mean, if you wanna do 30 days, but I do wanna emphasize, when the mayor puts stuff in the committees and we do this thing, we bring this to you guys, it's fine. In my opinion, we either need to vote it up or vote it down. We try to get the information out there just vote it up or vote it down, but I'm okay with a 30-day hold from that perspective. And then we need to go back to the drawing board and take a look to Commissioner Johnson's point. If we're not, by the Constitution of the state of Georgia, we're not doing it right, then if land bank, what we got locally is not right, then we need to do that, But I'm okay with that. I can support that. Of course, I have to go along with our chairperson, how he's feeling about it. But I think we work on these particular items, that the mayor gives us. Same thing with LRC. And, we can bet the difference. That's okay. That's why I say we either vote it up or vote it down and keep it moving.
Commissioner Link?
Yeah, just to be clear for the public, a land bank authority is just a tool that can be used for many different purposes. And we did have a presentation from the Land Bank Authority Director in Augusta, and they use, is it Augusta or Macon? Augusta. They use theirs for a very different purpose than we would intend to use theirs. They do have a lot of blighted properties, and they were flipping them to developers to have higher tax producing properties. Our intention that we've stated is that we could use this as an affordable housing tool. And as an authority, as a development authority, a land bank authority would have the power to acquire properties in a much smoother way than the government can. Commissioner Thornton talks about, these discussions we've had with developers and using this public property. It's pretty cumbersome for a local government to do that, but an authority, a development authority can do that very smoothly. And I think that's the intention that we came up with on the GOC, and the intention for revitalizing a land bank authority to use it in that way. And, you know, there's still conversations to be had about how this land bank authority would be set up, how its members would be selected, its own bylaws and things like this. This report is just saying, hey, let's get this started again. We'll figure out the details of how it's set up.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move to a vote, and then everybody will have questions answered next month. Hold for 30 days. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, we're going to take care of this last item, and then we'll take a quick break for new business. So 27 is acceptance of the exchange of property and easement with the Kroger parking lot at 1485 College Station Road. This was part of the planned development, the biggest piece of which just came out of the ground and went live. Do
I make
hear
a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, got a motion from Commissioner Myers, second from Commissioner Davenport. Commissioner Myers, any red light specials you'd like to identify?
Yeah, I do, one red light special, because I know I'll have questions about this. We're exchanging it for the road, which we're taking responsibility for, if I remember correctly. Does that mean from curb to curb? Does it include any right-of-way?
It's just from curb to curb.
Okay.
Just to make sure I'm right, but that's the way the setup was on the first section of it that went across the public to, I'm fairly certain, Commissioner, it's curb to curb.
Okay,
If
so
it
we.
did anything, you would pick
okay,
up a
in between,
sidewalk.
Right. They take care of the sidewalk and the landscaping, we take care of the repaving and whatever with the road, so.
And actually, if you look at the exhibit that goes with it, the area that's got the easement on, which we would then maintain, it does pick up the sidewalk on the Kroger side of the driveway that was installed as part of it. The area in the red is the
Yeah.
area with the easement.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm good.
Commissioner Davenport?
Nope, good.
All right, any other questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, y'all, let's take a quick break just till 8:45, and then we'll take care of new business. Back into session here for new business. We do have technically we have 5 items of new business. And these, of course, we have to consider under suspension of rules because they're receiving just a single hearing. So can I get a motion for suspension of rules?
So moved.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion from Commissioner Davenport and a second from Commissioner Taylor. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, oh, yes, from the prior items, we had 2 ordinances that were not read that I need to get affirmed.
These are on the consent agenda.
We're on the consent agenda.
The first one was for agenda item number 5, an ordinance to amend the FY 2025 operating capital budget for Athens-Clarke County, Georgia, so as to provide grant funding if awarded from the Georgia Department of Transportation GDOT grant program for Airport Taxiway B pavement rehabilitation and lighting project and for other purposes. The next one was item number 6 on the consent agenda. It's an ordinance to amend the special purpose local option sales tax 2020 program budget so as to provide additional funding for project number 7, E911 phone system replacement and for other purposes. And there was one more, Mr. Mayor, that accompanied the agenda item that Andrew assisted Commissioner Thornton on. We had to do an ordinance so we could convey that narrow strip of property. And it's an ordinance to amend the Code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to sales or conveyances of small or narrow strips of land and for other purposes. If we get a motion to approve.
All right, these were all approved unanimously, just to affirm that that was the intent of the body. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. All right, 28 is animal service operations contingency funding. Taking care of animals, as I can attest as a dog owner, is expensive, and that's true in our animal services operation too. So we need a motion to approve this budget amendment.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion from Commissioner Myers and a second from Commissioner Link for approval. Commissioner Myers?
Yeah, I want to take care of the animals, but I also want to ask a question in that I read over this, and there have been budget contingencies requested and approved during each of the years, that every year since that establishment of the animal department services, whatever the name of the group is, animal services. And, you know, as it develops, and in the history it says, you know, we're going to look at this and learn from this as we develop future budgets. But yet, like, again this year, we have this request for, I think it's even more this time, $325,000, is that what this is for?
It's an up to, yes.
Yeah, but yet, when I went and looked at the budgets, the mayor's budget and such, it was basically what it was last year and didn't incorporate any more. And it seems that this has happened every year. So I'm just like wondering when we're going to adjust the budget in advance so that we don't have to this contingency, since we've had a contingency vote once or twice a year for the last 3 years. So any thoughts on that? And of course, you know, we can learn more about that later.
No, I think it's a fair question, and in looking at the history on this one, I too noted there's been a kind of a repeat of these budget contingency requests coming in. At the same time, costs seem to go up, the numbers seem to be going up, and we did not. They had, in fairness to the department, they requested several $100,000 in over limits as part of their budget, and my recommendation that was passed on the mayor was that we just, you know, until we get a good grasp, because it just, we keep increasing and then it keeps going up again, and we just didn't have it.
Right. But I mean, I just want us to all be aware of that, because in the end, we are.
Still having to pay it at the end.
We're still having to pay it at the end. So it just, in terms of my neat, organized budgeting, I kind of want it to be like, put a little bit more in there, you know, like you do for your taxes, and have less to pay when the bills come due. So that perhaps that's something for us to consider as we move into budget season.
I think that's a fair point.
Commissioner Link and Commissioner Johnson? You're the seconder, Commissioner Link?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
Commissioner Johnson?
Hi, I was just wondering if someone could just summarize in two or so minutes what we're voting on for the people who are watching that may not be able to see it on a computer. What the changes, the amount, and to Commissioner Myers' point, how is this different from, how this is similar to every year? Just 2 minutes.
Sure, I can. What you've got in front of you is a contingency request for up to $325,000 for fiscal year 2025 to help fund the operations in our Animal Services Department. There is an agenda report that should be available online that you can see the details of. There is a long history section that, as Commissioner Myers pointed out a minute ago, does, since the department was created 3 or 4 years ago, there has been a history annually of them needing to come back and request contingency funding towards the end of the year for things. A lot of it is medical, the requirements, and I think there is a state requirement for these animals before they are, before they're fostered out or allowed to be transferred, that they need to be sterilized, and those costs continue to go up. And then the facts and issues gives some numbers in terms of increases from year to year. Pretty big this year, it seems, in terms of the total. We've impounded an additional 573 animals during the same time period from last year. And those animals all require the medical. The medical keeps going up. The procedures for sterilization, where we are required to have them done, keeps going up. And so we're just, in the first 2 or 3 years that this department has been in place, and the funding has changed to all Athens-Clarke County, where it used to be a lot of the medical was funded by an outside agency. It's just a matter of getting arms wrapped around it, and yeah.
I just thank you so much, Brad, for that. I think it's important for those that are watching, that may be watching on their phone and not be able to pull up these details, to know that in any given year, we may have a large amount of people, not people, but animals that are dropped off and they need care. And just like Interim Manager Brad stated, all of the animals before they're adopted, they try to make sure that their health is in check, and they also have spay and neuter. And our department works really well with a lot of the vets around our community, and ensuring that they can get the cats and dogs in, and also get all of that done at a reasonable price. So I just wanted those that are watching to know that, we have seen this, almost annually, but there is a need because of the ebb and flow of the animals that are dropped off.
And there's a budget ordinance to go with this.
An ordinance to amend the FY 2025 operating capital budget for Athens-Clarke County, Georgia, so as to provide funding for expenses related to costs in providing animals with medical care, including services and supplies and animal care maintenance in the Animal Services Department and for other purposes.
Any further questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, item 29 is an upgrade for the HVAC system at the Athens-Clarke County West Precinct at 3700 Atlanta Highway. Entertain a motion?
Second.
I've got a motion from Commissioner Link and a second from Commissioner Davenport. Commissioner Link, any remarks?
No.
Commissioner Davenport, a fan of working HVAC?
It's hot outside.
All right. Commissioner Johnson?
Hi, I have two quick questions. The first one is from the central services perspective, their primary responsibility, I remember them sharing with me during my new commissioner orientation, was that for most of the properties, they try to do a review of the HVAC and the roof. And so I was curious if the last time that they did that and the condition that it was in. The second question that I have is for this, we have a lease agreement with the owner of the property. And in that lease agreement, does it state specifically that this type of responsibility is on the county government?
Yeah, that's
That's your
my
grant.
Does it say that?
understanding,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
I think we paid for all the renovation work when we took that space over
Okay.
21 years ago. And I think these are still the same units that were in there when we took it over then.
Is there a budget ordinance associated with this?
Ordinance to amend the FY 2025 annual operating capital budget for Athens-Clarke County, Georgia, so as to provide funding to the police department for HVAC repairs and associated unit replacements at the West Precinct and for other purposes.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 30 is a resolution to recommend to the Planning Commission an amendment to the text of subsection C of Section 9-4-15 of the Code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia, which prescribes the procedures for reviewing demolition and relocation applications for members of the public. For about 15 years, we've had an ordinance whereby a commissioner can place a hold temporarily on the demolition of a structure that's 50 years old or older. And in reviewing this ordinance, we've recognized that it could benefit from increased specificity because there isn't a rubric or a matrix or a criteria by which these decisions are made. It's just one individual commissioner's decision. And so this would ask for that more specific piece of work to be done by our planning department and passed by our planning commission and then returned to us. Is there a motion for approval?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All right, I've got a motion from Commissioner Link and a second from Commissioner Fisher. Commissioner Link, any remarks?
Yeah, I have a quick question. My internet's not been working, so I'm sharing Commissioner Davenport's file here. Is there anywhere in this document a note as to when this initial ordinance was passed? Does it say?
No, it's not.
I would like to request that it be added to the history on the agenda, the date of when it was passed.
Okay.
I believe Commissioner Gertz said it was about 15 years ago.
I know it was just after the College Avenue school building was demolished, but I couldn't tell you a year.
Yeah, I mean, if we could retroactively add that to the agenda report.
It'll be coming back to y'all for action, so.
Oh, it's coming back for action?
Yeah, this
Okay,
isn't
well-
adopted.
This is just us asking the planning commission
Okay,
to address
the
this.
request.
Make
Okay,
sure
so
staff
yeah,
puts that
I
in
just want to make sure that the history of it is clear when it does come back for
We
adoption.
can do that. Yeah, this is really just a formal request for the staff to work on the amendment, present to Planning Commission. As I understand it, Jay, it'll come back just like any other text amendments do
Yeah.
to you in the normal process.
Yeah, I mean, being that this is an ordinance that was created out of, a desire for historic preservation, I just want to make sure we get the history right on it.
Commissioner Myers?
Yeah, and I just want to building on what the point you just made, because I called the attorney's office this morning. Oh, I need to not touch that I just got in trouble for touching that mic too much. Okay, so so I just want to clarify here again, as you just made a point, that we're not voting on this ordinance. We're just voting to say, hey, planning department, work on this ordinance. But I'm trying to understand the legalese here in Section 1, where it refers to what's attached in Exhibit A, that I didn't spend all the time looking over carefully because we're sending it to the planning department. Is this a revision, or is this what's here? Is what's in here?
What's attached is a proposed revision.
Is what, okay, so that is a proposed revision, and it said something in here about like removing a whole section. Is most of this, that's what I wasn't clear, is most of what's in this new section new?
Brand new.
Brand new, and it's replacing,
It basically was like a short paragraph. This is much more detailed.
okay, so now we're replacing, you are suggesting that we replace this section
Yes.
with this other section. Okay, the applications and deadline section is deleted, and it's replaced with the following that goes on for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like almost 5 pages, so it's a lot more
A
detailed,
lot more
huh?
detail.
Okay, great, so I just wanted to clarify that all of this was new.
Yeah. all
Thank
that's
you.
new.
And I apologize, Commissioner Fisher, I passed over you as the seconder, so I wanted to turn for any remarks.
Thank you, Mayor. It was one of the things that I had suggested to Attorney Drake that we do, that we need to be specific when we looking at doing demolitions, moving forward. So I'm anxious to see what the Planning Commission is going to come back with. Hopefully they'll come back with what's been put together here, and hopefully we'll be able to vote on that so we won't have what have happened in the past. So at least it'll give us a little bit more leeway and, a little bit more legal footing moving forward in the future, so.
Any others? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. Item 31, I hate to be the one to mention this, but I'm just going to ask you to hold this for a month because I still need to collect a couple commissioners' interest in doing this. And so I need those members to be in front of you. And so could I entertain a motion to hold?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Hold from Commissioner Fisher and second from Commissioner Taylor. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Hearing none.
I'm eyeing it, but I just,
Commissioner Myers?
yes, thank you. How are we telling all these people that we're holding this for a week? Are you sending, when we were interviewing them, we were told them we were
No,
approving
no,
them?
this item 31, this is the Public
Oh.
Facilities Authority, which is
Oh,
a
man,
subset
okay,
of
got it.
commissioners.
Somehow I.
32, I'm not going to hold.
So 31 is the list you sent out?
Oh, I didn't have a 30 with that one. So
I think you've got an updated version from what I've got in front of me.
Okay.
So we were holding the Public Facilities Authority reignition, and we will not be holding the appointments to boards, authorities, and commissions.
Okay.
So you have a list of 2 pages of board authority and commission members. Could I get a motion for approval of this, and then I'll read the list?
So moved. Second.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, so these are nominating committee reports for some great folks who have been willing to step up and volunteer. So for the Athens Downtown Development Authority, Jeff Bishop and Reed Radcliffe. For the Airport Authority, Sonny Wilson, William Felt, and Elizabeth Higgins. For the Deferred Compensation Board, Dennis Smiley. For the Development Authority, Bonnie Chastain, Kate Davis, Charles Dukes, and Willie Green. For the Hearings Board, Chris Joyner, Elizabeth Wells Pratt, and Danielle Gilmer. For the Historic Preservation Commission, Robert Allen Cleveland, Chris Jackson, and Lauren Olaf. For the Planning Commission, Sarah Beresford and Jennifer Fleece. For the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, Michael Ginter. For the Human Relations Commission, Shannon Bell, Corey Glisson-Mounier, and William Redding. For the Public Safety Civilian Oversight Board, Sarah Halstead, Yetta Malloy, Kevin O'Neill, and Francis Wakeford. For the Solid Waste Advisory Commission, Michael Bruger, Matt DePalma, and Anna Schultz. For the Vision Committee, Kate Munden-Dixon, Cole Napper, Allison Always, Rebecca Bacon, and Cameron Harrelson. And for the Athens-Clarke Library Board, Hannah DeCamp. So thank you, all those good folks who have been willing to spend some of their time and energy working for the betterment of Athens-Clarke County. So now is the time in our monthly voting meetings when we receive input from the members of the public who would like to speak to something that was not on tonight's agenda. The same 3-minute rule as described earlier applies. So would any member of the public like to speak to anything tonight? Again, just state your name and you have 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Brian Middleton. I reside at 110 Irvin Court. I think I have an idea or a solution for something, but I also have a request. I'm a CEO of a nonprofit organization called Infinity 9 Foundation Corp. And what I want to bring to the table is a self-awareness part. Now, having a self-awareness part, I know that a lot of things on the agenda tonight we're talking about people moving in and a lot of different things going on. So what I was suggesting that in this part, it deals with having the ability to do self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and all these different things, and also be grounded towards the earth. So I was just asking and needing help to get a grant so that I can get this part up so that we can have something that be good for the community. I think this will be the first time that this will be brought up in the world view for something dealing with mental illness and different things like that nature, because at this part it has a lot of different information that's given for self-awareness and self-accountability. So if y'all would look at it and check it out. I tried to email each one of y'all about the issue, but when I emailed it, it said it wouldn't go through. So I'm just bringing this to the table so that y'all can look at it. If y'all need the information and stuff like that, I can give you the information, and I also need help to try to get this up and running. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Middleton. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Steve Williams, 310 Lakeland Drive. I want to thank you for allowing me to speak to you this evening. Yesterday afternoon, an inmate at the Clarke Jail died. He was 32 years old. About 2 weeks before, another inmate was found dead, or actually he was found in a medical emergency in his cell and ultimately died. That's two 30-somethings dying in our jail in the last couple of weeks. And the GBI is investigating that. That's required, and any time that an inmate dies in government custody. But they're only going to look at it in terms of criminal investigation, whether there was criminal activity that led to these people's deaths. And I would suggest that we need more than just that as a community. These men didn't choose to be where they were, obviously, but when they're under the community's care. They are dependent on us as a community. And the death of these two men raises a lot of questions that the GBI isn't going to be investigating. That's not the scope of their investigation. It's an investigation, though, that I think needs to be undertaken at the jail, by the sheriff's office, but also by the community. And fortunately, we actually have an organization that you folks formed who oversee the sheriff's office and the jail, and that's Peace Corps. And so what I am requesting you as mayor and commission to do is to put this on their table as something that they should take up. Don't leave it to them. Don't make them make the decision, okay, are we going to put ourselves in this position? See that this gets reviewed by the organization that you set up to review the public safety performance in our city. See that they have your support in doing that investigation, reviewing that investigation, I should say, and see that they have the resources necessary to complete it. Hopefully, we don't see this kind of thing again.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Good evening.
My name is Sam Raffle, 230 Spalding Circle. Everything I say tonight is going to be in reference to the ACC work session, the last work session, where two of our public safety providers, ACCFES and National EMS, presented. I'm going to start with slide 22. I don't have it here to show you, but I can tell you about it. It shows where the Utstein survival was discussed by National EMS. It is pertinent to a lot of what I've been talking about for several years, and actually maybe what this gentleman was just talking about. But the Utstein survival number was given as 2.02%. It was defined by the speaker as the percent of patients who experience an out-of-hospital cardiac arrest that survive to hospital discharge. The percent nationally is around 8 to 10%. So 2% is low. And according to my math, represents one person surviving a cardiac arrest out of the 38 they worked. 1 divided by 38 is about 2%. So I think that number is accurate. And you would expect it to be around 3 or 4 individuals, citizens, to survive that. But I don't think it's all National EMS. I think we all have a part here. For example, if our EMT firefighters don't have baby aspirin, which is state-of-the-art treatment according to Harvard Medical, that's a problem. If they don't have cardiac monitors where they can hook people up, it's a basic EMT procedure, and transmit that information to the hospital that speeds everything up in terms of that patient's care, that's a problem. Don't want to let National EMS completely off the hook because response times are critical. And if we're understaffed with paramedics, that's also a problem. But ACCFES, Athens-Clarke County Fire and Emergency Service calls are mostly medical. By far, cardiac calls are their number one medical call. I think it's clear that it's better to prevent a cardiac arrest than it is to work one. And the beauty is that if you upgrade your response to cardiac arrest and try to get your Epstein numbers up, you're also upgrading your response to all cardiac emergencies, and cardiac emergencies are the number one killer of Athenians. So we have highly trained, outstanding people working in our ACCFES. 90% of our staff is trained to basic EMT or higher. Our EMT firefighters need more tools in their toolbox so they can perform up to their level of training. My understanding is we're making good progress to that, hiring 3 training officers, et cetera. But I'm talking more specifically about cardiac monitors and baby aspirin. I also, want to point out our emergency medical dispatchers have the protocols for giving having people give the baby aspirin. And there's another thing I want to share with you, but at a later date, and it's called the Epstein Survival Prediction Formula.
Thank you, Mr. Raffle.
Anyway, thank y'all.
Good evening.
Good evening. This is Dylan Woolsey from 505 Reuben Parkway. I'm going to talk about a few topics. The first one is I saw recently that the Pinewoods Library has recently had installed a new reservoir, which is definitely an improvement than the previous situation. But I hope that the government and code enforcement keeps in constant communication with the residents in ensuring that they will not rest until all the residents have very reliable access to completely safe, clean water. As well, I believe this definitely extends to all of our other public facilities, from our fire stations and including our jail. So they are all adequately supplied the appropriate equipment and services that they need to maintain health, hygiene, and safety at all these facilities. And this will also requires funding. As well, I noticed this will kind of bring us to the budget, some budget items I had concerns with. In the recently proposed budget I have seen, it does not appear, at least from my searching through it, that the various ordinances or that would require money allocated from the recent resolution of to address Black minority inequities have been introduced into this. And so I hope that during the budgeting process that all the potential programs and initiatives and ordinances that were suggested are actually going to be implemented as part of this budget that we will hopefully pass in this year. And finally, I was actually just I was looking at our neighborhood data that we have, and in all but 3 neighborhoods, half of people are renters, and in all of the neighborhoods, all but one, at least 40% of renters are rent burdened, meaning over either decrease rents or at least make the rents rise slower, as well as addressing the other items to address Black minority inequities, as well as making sure our public buildings and services are safe, efficient, and healthy. We definitely need to have all these funds that will be put towards them. So I urge you to consider also potentially raising millage rates. To do this as well, consider that during the Urban 3 presentation, the prioritize high property value land as well. And please, could you put the Urban 3 presentation, what their findings are, into somehow on the public so we can view it later? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woolsey. Evening.
Evening. My name is Eric Fancher, 1304 Cottage Boulevard. And I'm here to express strong support for the Eastside Athens Complete Streets redevelopment project that was proposed as part of the 2026 TSPLOST. Seeing that presentation was excellent, and there was great conversation tonight about the road needs of the East Side. It's great to hear that motivation. And this proposal addresses so many of the needs you all are talking about. Let's talk about Gaines School Road specifically. It is dangerous by design. And unfortunately, now we have proof of how dangerous it is when you have 2 pedestrians killed in a crosswalk. That's awful. We shouldn't ever have that. You can look at this road and see the answer of why it is so dangerous. Just drive through on a busy day. The lanes are wide and they encourage speeding. Vehicles trying to turn end up stopping, causing other vehicles to swerve around them through the crosswalks. The design is bad, and this proposal, the East Side Streets project, would fully fix this problem. This is a solvable problem, and you have an answer in front of you. This project would reconfigure the dangerous traffic lanes, narrowing them, removing them in some places, reconfigure, add safer pedestrian infrastructure and bike infrastructure, increase connectivity along the corridor. It's a project that can save lives. And if you want to protect people, whether they walk, bike, or drive, especially in growing areas like the East Side, you need to prioritize this as a safe, smart infrastructure project. If you want to get traffic off of these roads, what better way than to provide these viable alternatives to driving for walking down that corridor, walking, biking, whatever, down that corridor, better than driving, adding more cars to the traffic. I urge you to treat that project with the seriousness it deserves and make it a priority in that 2026 TSPLOST. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fancher. Good evening.
Hello, Michael Smith. My address is on file. I wanted to take a stab at a question that Commissioner Fisher asked earlier. He was asking about who's coming here, right? And so I'm not a credentialed analyst, but I work with credentialed analysts for 40 years. And we've been working on a project for several months. And one of the things we did was predicted the housing market in a number of ways for the next 5 years, including developing what we called a geographic competition score. Like who's coming here and who are locals competing with over the next 5 years. And we've done a lot of analysis on it, but basically in the lowest income groups, 90% of the people that have something made available to them are going to be here. From about $700 to $1,100 a month rent prices, it drops to about 70%. You can kind of look at $1,700 a month as far as rent payment goes, where you're going to have an equal blend of locals and migrants taking advantage of those spaces. And then by the time you get to $2,100 a month rent, it's almost entirely migrants. A lot of good news came out is we do have migrant flow from Asia. We have migrant flow from Atlanta. We have migrant flow in new tech workers. And one of the most stunning things that came out is that there is a market for what we, for lack of a better phrase, called a BIPOC middle class. There's a huge market, but the housing is either limited or too expensive. And so they're choosing other places in the metro Atlanta area. And so as far as home prices go, as far as buying houses, we found that 90% of the people in Athens with dual incomes or single incomes of $125,000 a year or less are now priced out of even buying a home, okay? And so the sweet spot for the middle is between $250,000 and $400,000, which makes sense. And once we hit $400,000 pricing levels and go upwards, it goes to practically no chance that a local is going to come in, but migrants are. But I'll send you some of that data, okay? All right. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Any other remarks regarding any item not on tonight's agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll come to reports. I've got just a couple of things. Got an Adopt a Highway proclamation, so I want to lift up Covenant Presbyterian Church's youth group, who has adopted Barnett Shoals Drive between Greencrest and Whitehall, and so thank you to them. I've got two appointments that I've made to the Athens Housing Authority. These are both reappointments for Michelle Pearson Tucker for a 5-year term expiring May 31st, 2030. and to Jacqueline Askew, who's in the resident category and will have a one-year term expiring May 31st, 2026. And then I also have one assignment to government operations that they can take up after the beginning of the fiscal year, and that is to identify Athens-Clarke County properties that would be viable for affordable housing purposes, so Athens-Clarke County owned properties. And I'm going to turn to the manager and ask if there's anything from him tonight.
I do have one thing for the good of this group that was pointed out to me earlier this evening. I believe if you look on your Outlook calendars for the budget meeting that is scheduled for this Thursday, which is your first one to kick it off, it was originally also scheduled possibly as a T-Board meeting, and we're not ready for that yet because of the delays. So it shows up on your calendar as just the T-Board public hearing is canceled, but there's not another meeting that shows that there. I say all that to say there is still a budget meeting at 5:30 at the Planning Auditorium to kick off the budget process, 5:30 on Thursday, and we will get that corrected in the morning, but I just want to take this opportunity to clarify that.
Thanks for that, Brad. So still a meeting, just not one of those
Not one of
three
the
required by state
Bill of
law.
Rights, no.
Taxpayer Bill of Rights. Let's see, Mr. Auditor?
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quickly, the 2025 Peace Corps Community Survey is still active on our website and will be through the end of May, so encourage everyone to take a look at it.
And Attorney Drake? All right, so we'll hear from commissioners. I'll begin with Commissioner Myers, and then we'll move around and have Commissioner Davenport adjourn us.
Okay. Well, I want to thank that Covenant Presbyterian Church youth group. I don't want to put a lot of pressure on them, but there's been a lot of trash at the intersection of Greencrest and Barnett Shoals. We have a fairly active panhandling group there, so I'm hoping these youth will help there. From that's a long stretch there. I also want to mention, I've shared this with residents, but if someone is listening, there is going to be a community meeting with any residents who are interested in looking at the future development of that piece of property behind the gas stations that we looked at last year at 2295. That's a meeting with the developers have asked for this. These are local developers who want to share their ideas and find out what the community wants. That's on Monday, May 12th, 5:30 to 7 at the Green Acres Baptist Church Community Room. I want to say thanks to the public commenters. Eric, I think you might be my constituent over there, although I don't think you live in the bank, which is what they were showing me there. But on the, and I know there's a whole lot of projects. I love that project that you're talking about, but there's a lot of projects. They're adding up to a lot of money and more money than we actually have. I also like to thank the comments on the budget as well. I think we do need to be looking at, really we talk about things, but are we going to make any decisions that show our commitment to the affordable housing and youth development and some of the other issues we've been working on. So, and I also would like to ask staff to either get us, I'm assuming some others of my commissioners here would like to understand more the deaths that happened at the jail so that we can better understand them, whether or not they need to be reviewed by the Peace Corps or not. That's another thing to discuss, but if we could, I guess we could, you're not over the sheriffs, we could be reaching out. I will try to reach out to the sheriff for that. And finally, I just want to reiterate something I brought up a couple of months ago, the need for a work session on what we're actually doing on affordable housing with the money that we do have set aside. So it's just really clear how we are using that money, because we have big ideas about what we can do, but we don't have that much money. I want to know what we're doing. I want to know the direction we're going in or how we're making that plan on that direction, and that's still not clear to me. So I urge the mayor and the staff to sort of work on getting us more informed on that. That's it.
I'll keep it brief. I just want to say happy early Mother's Day to all the mothers here and those that are watching. Hope y'all have a wonderful weekend.
I have a few things. In regard to our public meetings, if there's material that is presented at the meeting, is it possible to make it a part of the process to have that meeting material, like any slides, PowerPoint presentations, also added to the agenda, as a download for those? Because if meetings are held at the planning department, we can't see the presentation. And so one would say, well, just watch it on television. Well, we can't see the presentation. But if it was actually added to the agenda as one of the additional items as a resource, that would be tremendously helpful for the questions that I receive. Also, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. And, tomorrow is on Thursday, we have our employee appreciation. No, is it tomorrow? Tomorrow. It is tomorrow, thank you. Tomorrow is our Employee Appreciation Day, and I had it on my calendar for about 6 weeks, and I was excited to attend. But I just wanted to say I'm not going to be able to. I have a phenomenal bonus daughter who's graduating tomorrow with honors from Georgia State, and I can't miss that. And so I will be attending that, and I hope that employees feel valued and have a great time tomorrow. And District 6, please stay tuned for an announcement in the next 2 days about a drop-in informational about the D.R. Horton residential proposed project. And I just wanted to say one last thing to my colleagues. I want to take a moment to address a concern that has been increasingly difficult to ignore, one that affects not only me personally, but the tone, equity, and professionalism of how we function as a government body. When I speak on agenda items, I do so with purpose. My comments are grounded in my experience, informed by policy knowledge, and driven by a deep commitment to serving this community well. However, I've observed a reoccurring pattern. When I express views that may challenge norms or bring uncomfortable truths to the table, I am cut off, usually by the same two people, frequently and abruptly, under the claim of being out of parliamentary order. That same urgency to enforce procedural rules does not appear to apply when other commissioners speak, even when they veer off topic or make similar missteps. If parliamentary procedure is truly the concern, then we should all have the benefit of the same guidance. And if not, we need to be honest about why enforcement seems selective. I respectfully ask, if any interruptions are going to be made on procedural grounds, please ensure that each of us is provided a parliamentary guide. It is not fair to correct some and excuse others. Moreover, it is simply not fair for commissioners who rarely offer comment or take positions on key items week after week to be the ones to shut me down when I choose to speak with conviction. My contributions are not distractions. They are a necessary part of honest, responsible, and representative government. Let me be clear. I am not here to disrupt. I'm here to serve. And that includes asking hard questions and stating facts as I see them. That's not out of order. That's doing the job I was elected to do. I will not be silenced because my views are different, or because they may challenge a "this is how we always have done it" mentality. Leadership requires more than silence and nodding along. It requires integrity, accountability, and sometimes discomfort. If we are serious about public trust, then we have to make room for truth, even when it is convenient. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of things. Commissioner Johnson, when you get to have your meeting with D.R. Horton, would you inform your fellow commissioners too?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Couple of things. I had the privilege and opportunity today to speak at Athens-Tech graduation for their adult ed, and just want to commend those individuals getting their GEDs, and really it was about 130 people from our community, and those folks were really proud. Their family yelled, cheered for them, and I want to thank Dr. Daniels from Athens-Tech for inviting me to do that. Secondly, I want to commend one of our officers, Officer Samuel Garcia. Officer Garcia, he patrols in the Rolling Ridge area, and one thing that he has done is trying to get into that neighborhood, so getting out his patrol car, going to the neighborhood. But one thing that he did on his own, nobody told him to do it, with his own money, he went and bought a basketball goal for that community over in Rolling Ridge out of his own money. So I had the opportunity to talk with him and thank him for doing that. He didn't have to do that, but that's what I call community policing. A lot of times, officers get a bad rap, but I want to highlight Officer Garcia for doing that and thank him for his service. And last but not least, I had a young man whose grandmother brought him to City Hall several weeks ago. His name is Mason Hall, who I'm sitting in my seat, and he left me a note. So I want to give him a shout out and thank him for his grandmother, whose Pearl Hall, whose grandmother brought him to City Hall. I think the granddaughter is sitting in Commissioner Taylor's seat, so I was glad to see that. Give young people the opportunity to see sort of what we do here and actually sit in our seat. So I just want to give him, Mason Hall, a shout out. Thank you.
I'll keep it brief as well. So I'd like to thank staff for all of your hard work and for to my colleagues for the great conversations that we have to better serve our community. I'd also like to thank Naomi's Table, the nonprofit that nominated me for their 2025 Going the Extra Mile Award. And so I appreciate that. I also appreciate everyone who reached out, phone calls and text messages during this time of loss. I lost my grandmother last Tuesday before last Tuesday. It's been one big whatever, I'm losing days. But yeah, so thanks.
I just want to remind everyone that they can still participate in public input online on the future land use plan. There were a dozen or so meetings throughout the course of April. There were drop-in meetings all over the community. And from what I understand, attendance was pretty good. The couple that I was at, attendance was really good. And I want to thank staff for some kind of individual private meetings with neighborhood groups. I had a group of folks from the West Broad Advisory Board meet with staff, and that was really productive. They were able to really understand the process and get it explained to them, and some of them showed up at a broader public meeting. So if anybody hasn't participated in that process, please get online and do so and pay attention. And I want to encourage folks to attend the presentation by Joe McConey, is that how you pronounce his name? The Urban 3 group. There's a public presentation at Clark Central on Thursday evening at 6. And we're also getting a presentation to the Mayor and Commission tomorrow at 4, I believe. So we'll have some back and forth conversation about it, no doubt, and that would be interesting for members of the public to witness as well. I presume that'll be recorded, correct? Our work session with them will be recorded and available online? I would assume. Okay, I hope so. If I'm requesting that it is, because I think that'll be productive. But that'll talk about land use and taxation and revenue and the broader economy and how that's impacted. So I hope that folks will pay attention to that as well.
All righty. I'm looking for some good food tomorrow with employees. Hopefully we'll have a good time. Please don't eat my food. I may be late. I do want to thank Dexter Fisher. I'll explain to you later. I would like for us to look into the inmate situation because I have some concerns as well. Maybe Peace Cobb can pick that up. Always happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, the vessels from which we all come from. And, let's thank those who have served our country and for Memorial Day. And for my colleagues, and yes, the future land use, please, people in the community participate, and I always thank staff. And for my colleagues, it's gonna be a busy month. May, we got Urban 3 tomorrow, we have budget, and I just pray that we work together and get through this hurdle so we can be off in July.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.